She once rejected me and chose another. Now, out of a toxic relationship, she says she still loves me, but I don't feel the same anymore. Lena, 28 female, and I met in a recreational volleyball league 3 years ago. Our team practiced twice a week and played weekend matches. Our friends formed that way. We had drinks or meals after every practice at 8. Corporate lawyer Chase, 30 male, was here. Lena caught my eye immediately. She was like this, not only in appearance but in energy. She loved teaching high school science and often had funny anecdotes about her students. Lena spoke most in our group after practice. Chase was also first intrigued by her. He always sat next to her and walked her to her car when we went out. Our group bonded in the first year. We shared birthdays, moved apartments, and went to Cape Cod for a weekend. Lena became more attractive to me throughout this time. She crossed my mind during work meetings and grocery shopping. We frequently texted about various topics, such as a hilarious dog she spotted on her way to work, a new restaurant, or book TV program recommendations. After a year and a half with Lena, I told her how I felt. It was difficult to decide. Changing our friendship kept me up at night. What if she declined? Would our relationship suffer? Would it affect all our friends? I pondered these questions for weeks. One night after practice, I invited Lena to coffee. Just us two. Near the gym, we visited this small cafe. I recall everything about that time. I saw the chipped blue mug in front of me, the espresso machine hum, and the dusk light through the windows. I informed Lena that my love for her had gone beyond friendship and asked if she would date me. Lena took what seemed like hours to respond to her coffee. She stated she loved our friendship but not me. She said she wasn't searching for a relationship because she was considering applying for a master's program. I spent hours staring at my ceiling at home that night. Despite the hurt, I appreciated her rejection. I avoided acting differently around her for several weeks. We kept playing volleyball, hanging out, and texting. The rejection pain dissipated as I focused on going forward. After rejecting me, Lena started dating Chase within 2 months. They revealed themselves during our Friday night drinks while holding hands. The sight hit me hard. They received congrats from everyone while I tried to absorb what was happening. She wasn't only dating someone else. She explicitly stated she didn't desire a relationship at that time. Seeing them together showed me her rejection wasn't about timing or priorities. She wasn't interested in me. I felt something change then. I lost interest in Lena. Not out of spite or resentment, but because shared passion is essential for my romantic desire. Without exchange, such feelings were trapped. I remained friends with Lena and Chase despite this news. I wanted Lena to be happy. Chase making her happy is fine with me. We still play volleyball, but I miss some after becoming CFO. Lena and I still texted, joked, and told stories. She became close friends with my sister, Claire, 32 female, with whom she went shopping and had lunch every few weeks. Thank goodness they connected. Claire wanted Boston friends after moving there recently. Chase and Lena split months ago. Our group was shocked, because they always appeared like a fantastic match. Chase stopped attending our meetings first, then Lena. When she joined us, she was quieter, and less herself. I discovered the truth 3 weeks ago. Shaking, Claire called me. Lena showed images of arm and back bruising. Chase abused her physically and emotionally. He continually judged her, monitored her phone, and cut her off from friends. This news left me flabbergasted. My longtime friend Chase, who laughed with us and helped us move apartments, was torturing Lena behind closed doors. Lena spent more time with Claire and at my house after this discovery. We encouraged her without pressuring her. She was improving, but I thought she needed professional help to digest things. Lena visited my apartment 2 weeks ago. We drank wine and chatted about nothing important. A new Netflix program, volleyball season, weather. 2 people can hardly stand in my tiny kitchen without knocking into each other. Lena kissed me while we laughed. I left the kiss after 10 seconds. I joked about the wine being stronger than expected. Lena laughed too, agreeing it was booze. Shortly after, she left to create lesson plans for tomorrow. Lena returned to my door the next morning. She asked to talk with red eyes. Sitting on my couch, she said she had loved me for months. She wished we had started our relationship earlier. Lena says she initially declined Chase's invitation. He kept delivering flowers to her school and bringing takeout from her favorite restaurant to her apartment until she agreed to a date. She felt rushed into the relationship. Lena thought she and I might have met if Chase hadn't pushed so hard. I listened to what she said, having chaotic feelings. After she stopped being romantic, I told her I loved her as a friend, but no longer loved her. I didn't feel excited about dating her anymore. Lena's face fell. She wondered whether I was rejecting her out of revenge after years of rejection. I assure her that wasn't the case. But secretly I knew her initial rejection had affected my view of her. Once I discovered she didn't share my romantic feelings, they never returned. It wasn't revenge. My initial need was shared enthusiasm. Lena seemed distraught leaving my flat. Claire called me that night, angry I rejected Lena. She said Lena was my perfect match and I was nasty and vengeful. Claire claimed that Chase, a textbook narcissist, had twisted Lena, and I was punishing her for nothing. Lena texted me the next day, requesting solitude. She suggested we quit seeing each other. This upsets me because I tried to keep our friendship despite my sad sentiments when she rejected me years ago. I still consider Lena a friend and hope we can reconnect. I granted her space and planned to contact her when things calmed down. Claire needed to be told about limits and asked to leave first. 2 weeks have passed since I posted, and things have taken some unexpected turns. Claire joined me for lunch the day after my post. She silently read the Reddit thread on my phone while I picked up my omelet. Her phone was put down and she apologized after reading. Claire agreed that she shouldn't meddle and pledged to back my decision. She even agreed with many commenters that Lena and I should be apart for now. My chat with Claire went better than expected, and I was relieved to resolve at least one stress. After much counsel and my own instincts, I chose to stay away from Lena. We had time to process because I didn't text or phone her. A week after meeting Claire, I attended a friend's Cambridge housewarming celebration. The apartment was full of people, music was loud, and everyone seemed happy. After a hard week at work, I went home around midnight, exhausted. When I got to my building, the front desk clerk said Lena was waiting. Unsure what was so essential that she needed to see me at midnight, I allowed her up. Lena was looking better after months. She smiled broadly and had sparkling eyes when she saw me. She hugged me like she missed me and wanted to hang out. Lena said she saw my party Instagram story and asked our common buddy where I was. When she heard I left early, she came over. I had a few drinks while talking to Lena after drinking at the party. We reminisced about our week apart in a relaxed manner. Lena kissed me again in my kitchen. Due to drink and familiarity, I didn't stop her this time. Lena slept. I got up first the next morning, my head hammering from the cocktails. I went to fetch coffee while Lena slept, unsure what transpired. She was showering when I returned. I waited on the bed with coffees, knowing we had to chat. Lena requested to speak. She admitted I could believe she was using me as a rebound or backup following Chase, but she assured her feelings were genuine. She wanted to show me we could work together and be a couple. I told Lena I was confused. Though the night before had been pleasant, I still didn't feel the same way about her as she did about me. I said my feelings for her were not romantic. Lena sobbed and asked if she could alter my mind. I advised us to take a break to calm down. Perhaps we could revisit the conversation with clearer heads and repair our friendship. But seeing each other now will hurt more. Lena cried more but agreed. After breakfast and easy discussion, she departed my apartment a few hours later. I paced my apartment after she departed, shaken by all that happened. Despite our physical intimacy, my feelings remained the same. Although it was harder than expected, I knew a clean break was right. Later, I realized sleeping with Lena was wrong. Alcohol clouded my judgment, sending confusing signals when she needed clarity. Coffee I brought back wasn't a boyfriend gift. Coffee preceded an uncomfortable conversation. I think Lena needs time to recover from Chase. Abuse produces profound wounds that take time to heal. Therefore, she may not be ready for another relationship. My romantic sentiments for Lena are 95% gone. The night we spent together caused some doubt. But it was due to our physical connection, not my mood. I will maintain our clean break for now. It feels like our cleanest, nicest path forward. Update 2. A month has passed since my last post, and Lena's position has worsened unexpectedly. After Lena departed my flat after our night, I banned contact. 2 days later, she texted to discuss. I said I didn't like it, and that we needed time apart for now. After that, Lena texted several times. First saying she understood, then saying we'd be great together, and eventually saying I was wrong to push her away. These texts stopped coming after I didn't react. I reluctantly admit that our friendship was probably over. That knowledge made me sad, but I thought we had to move on and find pleasure elsewhere. For a year, I've worked with Sophie, 29F, a legal consultant, on a significant acquisition deal. Sophie's intelligence, passion, and wit make even the most tiresome contract reviews tolerable. During our months of working together, I had strong feelings for her, but never acted on them due to our professional connection. I asked Sophie out for coffee months ago, but she graciously rejected it, saying it wouldn't be acceptable while we were working on the sale. I fully respected her boundaries and agreed. We completed our acquisition 2 weeks ago. I invited Sophie to dinner to celebrate after the firm received the announcement email. She smiled and agreed immediately, as if she'd been waiting for this. First date went great. Conversations naturally moved from business to personal interests and objectives. Sophie said she informed her friends about me months ago, which astonished me because I did the same. The challenge of working together while being attracted made us chuckle. Sophie returned to my apartment after the date. Lena lacked our natural mutual connection. Sophie contacted me 2 days later. Our coffee appointment was requested quickly. Sophie was anxious and pushed her phone across the cafe table as I arrived. Lena's LinkedIn message appeared. Lena found out about Sophie and me. She informed Sophie of our relationship in her first communication. Lena said her and I were going through a rough patch. After Sophie didn't react, Lena sent another message accusing me of manipulating women, serial dating, and hurting women who fell for me. Sophie was naturally alarmed by these messages. She liked me but didn't want to get engaged in romantic drama. She suggested we quit seeing each other before things escalated. I told Lena the whole story to avoid losing Sophie to false allegations. Sophie saw my original Reddit post about the event. After reading everything, Sophie consented to visit me, but I could see the episode had shaken her trust in our promising relationship. Lena's attempt to ruin my connection with Sophie upset me. I pondered addressing Lena and saying hurtful things. I've never retaliated, even when provoked. However, Sophie and I blocked Lena on all social media and communication methods. I called Claire to tell her, and Lena's behavior startled her too. Claire said she wasn't in touch with Lena anymore, which I trusted. I chose not to notify our mutual friends about Lena's situation. Some friends may only hear Lena's account, but I'm keeping my personal life secret. Only LinkedIn remains for professional reasons after I canceled most social media accounts. Many reviewers on my prior postings told me Lena might be manipulative or unstable, but I ignored them. I now see what they saw that I missed due to our friendship. If Lena contacts me again, I'll set boundaries. I wonder if Lena's friendship with Chase affects her more than we thought. Her destructive behavior may have been taught by an abusive relationship. Despite my anger at her behavior, I remember Lena as compassionate, witty, and passionate about teaching, and I see how much she's changed. Update 3. I wanted to inform you on how things went after 3 months. After Lena tried to interfere with my relationship with Sophie, she didn't contact us for a month. Her presence at places she knew I may have increased. She visited my gym, the coffee shop near my office during lunch, then a restaurant where I was having dinner with coworkers. I avoid interaction and depart swiftly every time. I resolved to take direct action after 5 coincidental meetings. A lawyer urged me to write Lena an official no-contact letter. The letter indicated that I did not want to engage with her, and that any attempts to contact me or visit me would be harassment. Lena emailed me and Sophie a lengthy email 2 days after the letter arrived. She apologized and said she had started therapy to cope with her connection with Chase. She wrote that she admits her actions were wrong and will respect our boundaries. I ignored the email per my lawyer's advice. We agreed to keep Lena out of touch after discussing it with Sophie. Despite the earnest apology, the relationship was too damaged to renew. Claire briefly contacted Lena after the apology email. Claire reports that Lena regrets her behavior and is addressing major concerns related to her relationship with Chase. Claire and Lena met for coffee once, but Claire felt it would be disloyal to me and complex given the past. The drama eventually disbanded our volleyball team. Some friends stayed with me, others with Lena, and some left, uneasy. Some days I miss those friendships, but I know why. Sophie and I have been dating for 4 months. My relationship with Lena was complicated, but this one went smoothly. We have agreed to move in together when my lease ends next month. Working together goes nicely. We're professional at work but enjoy our personal lives. I learned via mutual contacts that Chase moved to Chicago for work. No one in our former buddy circle talks to him, and Lena filed a police report about the abuse, but didn't press charges. Time has allowed me to process everything. My experience with Lena showed me the importance of setting boundaries and ending friendships. I'm no longer angry at Lena, but I don't want to see her. Through this, Claire and I have become closer as friends. Now a trusted confidant, her friendship with Sophie is growing. We have weekly dinners and feel like we're establishing a healthy social group. I learned from this that sometimes the hardest actions, like cutting ties with a loved one, are vital for your well-being. Moving forward requires letting go, even if it hurts. I appreciate building a life with respectful limits and open communication. Thank you to everyone who advised and supported me during this difficult time. Your advice helped me manage difficult emotions and make better choices. I'll stop posting updates now that this chapter is over. Move on to the next story. Story 2. My jobless cousin bullied my sister after my parents let him stay. My parents chose him over us when I defended her. I'm a 25 female and live with my parents while finishing my social work masters. Our family has always been close despite sibling rivalries and disagreements. I'm the middle child between my older brother Jake, 28 male, and younger sister Mia, 21 female. Our parents raised us to always look out for each other. Our parents, David, 55 male, and Linda, 53 female, have always supported our goals. They encouraged us to study, even if it meant staying home to save money. Due to this, I don't pay rent but contribute to utilities and groceries. Our arrangement has worked wonderfully for years. Jake returned home last year after quitting his marketing job. When his firm restructured, he was living in the city and climbing the corporate ladder. He lost his job and struggled to pay rent in his luxury apartment. Jake returned home to regroup and find his footing, so our parents welcomed him. Mia, the youngest, attends community college at home. She's always been our most sensitive and artistic. Mia is pursuing her photography passion, while Jake and I choose more traditional careers. Our parents are supportive but worried about her field's financial security. Our cousin Alex, 23 million, came to be with us 2 months ago, changing our life. My mom's sister's son, Alex, was our vacation and summer companion. He was always the life of the party, quick with a joke and never took anything seriously. Alex struggled despite his easygoing exterior. Alex struggled with his parents' breakup throughout high school. He acted out, got in trouble, and quit college after a semester. He's bounced between jobs for years, never finding his niche. His recent relationship with Sarah seemed to change him. Alex seemed to be settling down and planning his future for the first time in years. We were surprised when Alex arrived 2 months earlier, looking lost and defeated. He said Sarah broke up with him and kicked him out of their flat. He was too embarrassed to return to his mother's house and had nowhere else to go. Since our parents are loving, they offered him our guest room till he recovered. All appeared well at first. Alex was appreciative for the support and tried to help around the house. He did the dishes, mowed the lawn, and helped Jake with job applications without being asked. We hoped this would wake Alex up and change his life. After a month with Alex, I noticed a difference in household dynamics. It started off subtly, a snarky remark or a backhanded compliment. Most comments seemed to target Mia. I originally dismissed it as Alex's regular mocking. He'd always been a jokester, even as a kid. As time went on, I couldn't ignore the pattern. Alex seemed to intentionally upset Mia. Alex said, "Isn't that skirt a little short for a family dinner?" Or, "I bet you're trying to impress that barista at the coffee shop." When Mia talked about her photography projects, Alex rolled his eyes and said something about starving artists. I tried to discuss it discreetly with Alex. I approached him in the kitchen one afternoon when everyone was out. I said, "Hey Alex," attempting to be casual. "I've noticed you've been pretty hard on Mia lately. Is everything okay?" Alex shrugged, grabbed a beer from the fridge. "I'm joking," he said. "Mia must toughen up to succeed in life. Besides, it's not my fault if she can't take a joke." "I didn't want to create house tension," he said. "I choose to monitor the situation." I spent more time in the common areas while Alex and Mia were home to deter misbehavior. Mia was increasing her withdrawal. Her living room was her favorite spot for sketching and laptop photo processing. She mostly holds up in her room now. After hesitating, she told me Alex's comments were hurting her. "I can't do anything right while he's around," she said, crying. "But I don't want to tell Mom and Dad. By keeping Alex, they're doing so much." I assure Mia that her feelings were valid, and that she had a right to feel comfortable at home. Mia asked me not to tell our parents about the situation. Alex was already struggling, and she didn't want to cause controversy. A family supper last week resolved matters. All of us were at the table for Mom's excellent lasagna. The conversation started lightly with Jake mentioning a promising employment opportunity and Dad planning a weekend fishing vacation. Suddenly Mia revealed that she was going on a date with a photography classmate. Alex's demeanor changed when she spoke. His sparkle in his eyes made me apprehensive as he leaned forward. Well, he sarcastically remarked. It appears our tiny Mia is finally expressing herself. Mia flushed red and stared at her plate as Alex interrogated her about the guy, asking increasingly personal and inappropriate questions. So, is this guy aware of your, shall we say, limited experience? Or, are you planning to fake it till you make it? He sneezed. I saw Mia shrinking in her chair, mortified. I tried to change the subject by asking Dad about his fishing trip, but Alex kept going. He turned to me and narrowed his eyes. What's the matter, sis? Afraid little Mia can't handle a little teasing? Or are you jealous that she has a date and you don't? Enough, Alex, I snap. You're a guest in this house, and you need to show some respect. Just because your life is a mess doesn't mean you can take it out on Mia or anyone else. The table fell silent, and everyone stared at me in shock. Alex's face contorted with anger. He stood up suddenly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. You know what? I don't need this. I'm out of here. He stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. The silence was deafening. Dad cleared his throat and said, I think we all need to calm down. Slowly. Alex is family and he's going through a tough time. We need to be more understanding. I couldn't believe the words. Dad, did you not hear how he was talking to Mia? To all of us? That's not okay. Tough time or not. Mom tried to intervene, suggesting we take a breather and discuss things when everyone had calmed down. But Alex didn't return for 2 days. When he did, my parents called a family meeting. They said Alex would be staying with us for at least another month and that we needed to get along. I tried to explain Alex's behavior toward Mia, but my parents dismissed it as cousin rivalry and told us to resolve it ourselves. Now the house is unbearably tense. Alex hardly speaks to me, throwing me dirty looks anytime we're in the same room. Mia appears more reclusive than ever, spending practically all her time in her closed room. Jake has been avoiding it, saying it's not his concern. I feel like I'm the only one standing up for Mia, but I'm not sure if I crossed a line with what I said to Alex. Should I apologize to keep the peace or stand my ground? I don't want to make things worse for Mia, but I don't think it's right to let Alex treat her this way in our home. I don't know what to do next. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since my last post, and I wish I could say things have improved, but the situation has only escalated. After much internal debate, I decided to try to reconcile with Alex. One morning in the kitchen, I apologized for my harsh words at dinner and explained that while I still cared about Mia, I could have expressed it more tactfully. Alex seemed to accept my apology, even cracking a smile and saying, "Water under the bridge, cuz." I felt hopeful that we could move past this and cooperate peacefully. Despite our apparent reconciliation, Alex's behavior toward Mia hasn't improved at all. If anything, it seems to have gotten worse, as if he's trying to make up for lost time. He's become more subtle in his jabs, making innocent-sounding comments with a clear mockery undercurrent. I helped Mia choose her outfit and gave her a pep talk before she left for her date with the guy from her photography class last weekend. She had been nervous all week, changing her outfit multiple times and worrying about every detail. As she left, I felt protective sisterly pride. Alex was watching a basketball game on the couch in the living room when Mia came home later that night. When she came in, he muted the TV and sat up, displaying a predatory grin. Well, look who's doing the walk of shame, he said, his voice dripping with insinuation. Mia tried to brush him off, mumbling a quick goodnight as she headed upstairs. Alex wasn't ready to let her off the hook, so he started grilling her about the date, getting more crass and invasive. Come on, Mia, don't be shy, he said. Did he get to second base or did you strike out again? I was in the kitchen doing dishes, but I heard everything. Alex, that's enough, I said firmly. Mia doesn't have to tell you about her date. Alex held up his hands and mocked surrender. Whoa, easy there, big sis. I'm just looking out for my little cousin. Someone's got to make sure she's not getting taken advantage of, right? He turned back to Mia, his voice becoming patronizing. Mia snapped, releasing months of pent-up rage as she shouted, "Shut up, Alex. Quit talking. I'm weary of your jokes and comments. Not hilarious. I feel horrible and they're useless." The room became silent as Alex and I were astonished by Mia's scream. Then Alex laughed. A harsh, mocking sound that made my skin crawl. Wow, looks like tiny Mia finally got a backbone. He sneezed. Maybe now you can keep a guy interested for more than one day. I was furious and stepped between Alex and Mia, my voice low and dangerous. That's it, Alex. You need to apologize right now or I swear to God. Alex stood up to his full height. Run to mommy and daddy again. They don't care. They're too busy feeling sorry for poor miserable Alex to realize what's really going on. He went off to the guest room, slamming the door so hard that the portraits on the wall rattled. Mia cried, and I spent the next hour comforting her in her bed. Between sobs, she admitted that Alex's behavior had been getting worse over the past few weeks, and that she was afraid to be alone in the house with him, always locking her door at night. The next day, I decided to have a serious talk with our parents. I waited until Alex had left for a job interview, or so he said, before sitting them down in the living room. My parents' reaction was shocking and disappointing. My mom shook her hands nervously, her brow furrowed with concern. But not for Mia. I explained everything that had been happening, from Alex's constant belittling comments to the incident after Mia's date. I emphasized how uncomfortable and unsafe Mia was feeling in her own home. Honey, she said, you may be exaggerating. Alex is struggling so much. Alex lost his job, girlfriend, and home at once, so it's no wonder he's behaving out. Mia's young. Are you serious? I asked, my voice rising in disbelief. Alex is an adult. His hard time doesn't give him the right to harass Mia or anyone else. She doesn't feel safe in her own home. My parents exchanged a look that made my stomach drop. My father grew stern. We appreciate that you're trying to help your sister, but you need to stay out of this. Alex is family, and we won't kick him out when he has nowhere else to go. So what? We just let him keep treating Mia like this? I demanded. My mother sobbed. We'll talk to Alex. We're not kicking anyone out, but if you keep causing problems, we may have to adjust our financial support. Your tuition isn't cheap, you know. I felt slapped. I couldn't believe my parents were prioritizing Alex's comfort over Mia's safety and using my education to keep me quiet. I stormed out of the room, my mind reeling. Now I'm at a loss. Mia is miserable. Alex is unapologetic. My parents seem determined to ignore everything. Jake still wants to help, saying it's not his problem, but I feel like I'm the only one trying to protect Mia, and I'm afraid of the consequences if I push too hard. I'm starting to wonder if I should move out, but I don't know how I'd afford it while finishing my degree. Leaving Mia alone makes me sick, but I'm running out of options. Does anyone have any advice on how to support Mia without alienating my family or jeopardizing my education? I feel trapped in an impossible situation and don't know what to do. Update 2. The past week has been a roller coaster of emotions and events that I'm still processing. After my last update, I felt trapped. My parents refused to acknowledge Alex's seriousness, leaving me feeling helpless and frustrated. I knew I needed to do something more concrete to protect Mia, but I was afraid of overstepping or making things worse. After much internal debate, I made a decision I'm still not comfortable with. I set up a hidden camera in the living room, which is unethical and possibly illegal, but I needed evidence to show my parents that they couldn't deny it. I borrowed a small camera from a friend in my program and carefully placed it on an angled bookshelf to capture most of the living room and part of the kitchen. After 3 days of anxiously checking the footage each night when everyone was asleep, I saw nothing particularly damning, just the usual family comings and goings. But on the 4th day, Alex cornered Mia in the kitchen while she was getting a glass of water. He blocked her path, leaning in close as he spoke. The audio was muffled, but I could hear Mia's fear as she asked him to move. Alex reached out and tried to touch her face, but she jerked away, knocking over her glass. As water spilled across the counter, Mia ducked under Alex's arm and ran upstairs. I was shaking with anger as I watched the footage. This was no longer about snide comments or inappropriate jokes, this was physically intimidating. I went to confront Alex, but he wasn't in the house. I found Mia curled up on her bed with her headphones on. She cried when I showed her the video, admitting that Alex had been getting more physical with his jokes in recent weeks. We showed our parents the video when they got home from work. My mom cried and my dad turned red with anger. Instead of yelling at Alex, he yelled at me. You violated everyone's privacy. What were you thinking? I was shocked. I tried to talk about Alex's behavior, But my parents kept talking about me breaking their trust and how low I would go. When I told my dad that the camera had caught Alex assaulting Mia, he said, it was probably just a misunderstanding, as if to say that Alex was probably just teasing. Mia, who had been quiet throughout the confrontation, stood up and said, I can't believe you're defending him, shaking her head. I'm not safe here anymore. I want to leave. That's when I knew we had to leave. I told my parents they were failing to protect their daughter and that I couldn't stand by and watch. I helped Mia pack a bag, threw some of my own things in, and we left that night. Jake finally intervenes and is trying to mediate between us and our parents, but they're more concerned about me overreacting and dividing the family than Alex's behavior. If I don't apologize for the camera incident at home, they'll cut me off financially. I'm looking into getting Mia and me our own place, but it's going to be tight. I'm also considering going to the police with the video footage, but I'm worried about Mia. How do I protect Mia and myself while dealing with the fallout from my family? Has anyone dealt with unsupportive parents? Update 3. A month has passed since my last update, and so much has changed. After much discussion with Mia and advice from a domestic violence hotline, we decided to file a police report about Alex's behavior. It was hard, but we knew it was necessary for our safety and to prevent Alex from harming others. The officers who took our statement were understanding and professional. They reviewed my video footage and took detailed accounts from Mia and me about Alex's behavior. They said Alex's actions may have been harassment rather than assault, but the video of him cornering Mia was particularly concerning. The police also interviewed our parents and Jake, which seemed to wake them up to the seriousness of the situation. Mom called me in tears, apologizing for not believing us sooner and begging us to come home. Dad was more reserved, but Jake said he seemed shaken by the police involvement. We also contacted our aunt, Alex's mother, to let her know what was going on. Instead of defending Alex, she broke down and revealed that this wasn't the first time he had shown inappropriate behavior toward women. The family had swept away incidents in high school and college, hoping Alex would grow out of it. Due to the police report and investigation, Alex is now facing charges of harassment and attempted sexual assault. He's been ordered to stay away from Mia and me and is no longer living at our parents' house. Last I heard, he's staying with a friend and must attend counseling. Mom has been calling daily to check on us and offering to pay for Mia's therapy. Dad is still struggling to accept everything, but he's trying. He helped us move our remaining things out of the house and respects our need for space. Jake has surprisingly stepped up in a big way. He's been mediating between us and our parents, helping them understand our perspective. He's also supported our decision to involve the police, saying he wishes he had taken our concerns more seriously earlier. Mia and I have found a small, affordable apartment. It's not much, but it's ours and safe. I work part-time at a local community center to cover expenses, and Mia does freelance photography. Juggling work, school, and our new living situation is difficult, but we're managing. I told my graduate advisor about my education. They were very understanding and helped me create a more flexible schedule. I may have to extend my program by a semester, but I'm determined to finish my degree. We're taking things day by day, focusing on healing and moving forward. I've learned that trusting your instincts and asking for help are crucial. Thank you to everyone who gave advice and support throughout this ordeal. Your words of encouragement meant more than you know. If anyone else is in a similar circumstance, please ask for help. You're not alone and deserve home safety. Thanks for watching and being part of the drama. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a wild news story. My wife called my dinner poverty and threw it on the floor after I paid rent again. That night, I left quietly and started planning my divorce. After covering the rent with my emergency fund because my wife failed to pay it again, I returned home with a gas station meal and a headache. She glanced at the food and exclaimed, "Wow, you really know how to make poverty taste worse." Then she threw it out, saying, "Try again tomorrow, idiot." That night, I understood I wasn't a spouse, but rather a wallet with a pulse. She called me this morning, crying and begging. You know the type. The miserable sacks who let themselves be walked over till they crack. But here I am, sitting in my car in a 24-hour grocery store parking lot, because I can't bear returning to my own house tonight. It's funny how quickly your life can turn into a Reddit post. It started with the rent again. Skylar missed paying it for the third time in 6 months, despite the fact that she does not work and has only one financial responsibility: transferring money from our joint account to the landlord's payment system, which takes around 90 seconds. My landlord notified me of the late fee by text message this morning. $65 went down the drain, just like the $130 from the prior two forgets. We can't afford to waste money right now. But regardless, I am used to it. I called Skylar from where I was already working a 12-hour shift because we're understaffed, which is corporate speak for, we don't want to hire enough people. She gave me the usual spiel about how she got distracted, how the payment portal is extremely confusing, and how she simply has too much on her plate right now. She has been unemployed for 14 months. Her plate has TikTok and our Netflix subscription. So I transferred the rent money from my emergency fund. Again. The emergency fund, which had nearly $8,000 in it 2 years ago, currently has a whopping $712, because my wife's failure to remember fundamental adult obligations appears to be our most regular problem. Fast forward to me driving home from my shift. My head is pounding as if someone is using my skull for drum practice. I am fatigued. I haven't eaten since my dismal desk lunch at 11 o'clock. So I swing by the gas station near our apartment and get some pre-made sandwiches, chips, and 2 bottles of Pepsi. It's not gourmet, but it will do. I come in the door to find Skylar on the couch, scrolling through her phone. The apartment is a disaster. Dishes heaped in the sink from at least 3 days ago, garbage overflowing, and the laundry I requested her to quickly throw in the washer still sitting in the hamper. But, whatever. I'm too tired to fight about this. I placed the gas station meal on the coffee table and mumbled something about dinner. Skylar looks up from her phone, looks at the food and exclaims, "Wow, you really know how to make poverty taste worse." I freeze. I actually can't move. Did she really just say that? After I just paid our rent? What happens after I work a 12-hour shift? After she made exactly 0 contributions to our household today? Before I can react, she swings her arm across the coffee table, knocking the food on the floor. The soda explodes on our carpet. "Try again tomorrow, idiot." That's when something inside of me clicked, as if you've been attempting to solve a jigsaw and suddenly all of the parts fall into place, revealing the entire picture. I've been married for 4 years but have never been a husband. I am a wallet with a pulse. I've always paid for everything. Initially it was because Skylar was between jobs. Then it was because she was discovering her passion. Then it was because the job market was extremely competitive. Then it was because she was experiencing burnout. The justifications changed, but the fact remained the same. My paycheck came in, nothing went out. Meanwhile, her own spending has continued unabated. New clothing, expensive skincare, constant meal delivery, because cooking is so draining. Every time I mention it, I'm the bad guy. I am financially abusive for questioning where our money is going. I'm controlling for proposing a budget. I am unsupportive for asking why she needs another $300 pair of shoes. Standing there, watching the drink seep into our carpet, which I will undoubtedly clean, something in me died. Or maybe you woke up. I do not know. I did not yell. I did not argue. I simply turned around, walked outside, got into my car, and drove away. She was left sitting there with her phone, attitude, and mess. I drove aimlessly for a bit and ended up in this parking lot, writing this post on my phone since I literally had no one to talk to about it. Skylar made certain of that over the years. My pals were losers, and my family was toxic. It's funny how everyone who could have had my back became problematic. My phone has been blowing up for the last hour. Text after text, first angry. "Where TF are you?" Then manipulative. "I'm scared. Please come home." Then gaslighting. "You're overreacting. It was just a joke." And now the sobbing apologies. "I'm so sorry, baby. Please come home. I didn't mean it." I have not replied to any of them. Instead, I've been doing mathematics. Cold, hard mathematics. Over the last 4 years, I've spent around $192,000 on our living expenses, bills, and her personal spending. In exchange, she has contributed almost $18,000 over the brief time she worked. And that's just the financial aspect. I won't even talk about the emotional labor, the housework I do despite working full-time, the continual walking on eggshells, the friends I've lost, the family events I've missed, and the dreams I've put on hold. I guess I've been in denial for 4 years, convincing myself that things will improve once she found the appropriate job. We had more money, and she was less stressed. When? But tonight, witnessing her throw perfectly fine food out while calling me an idiot, I realize the truth. There's no when. This is it. This is who she is. This describes who we are. Alternatively, this is who we were. I'm done being a walking ATM. Tomorrow, I'll open a new bank account with a different bank. I'm going to divert my direct deposit. I'm going to phone a lawyer. And I'm going to figure out what divorce looks like after 4 years of providing someone's financial support. I'm not sure what she will do when the money runs out. Probably call her parents, who are reputed to be nasty, but she has no problem accepting their birthday checks. Maybe she should obtain a real job or find another sucker to pay for her lifestyle. Not my concern anymore. So, that's where I am at. I'm sitting in my car at almost 3 a.m., plotting my departure strategy from a marriage that I'm quite sure has been one-sided since the beginning. Surprisingly, I feel relieved. It feels like I can breathe for the first time in years. Has anyone else experienced something similar? Any suggestions on how to preserve my finances throughout a divorce? Because something tells me that when Skylar discovers her meal ticket is being walked out the door, things will become ugly quickly. Update 1. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone who supported my previous post. Waking up to hundreds of responses from folks who have been where I am was both uplifting and disheartening. Validating because I am not insane. Depressing, because there appear to be thousands of us walking ATMs out there. It's been 16 days since the gas station supper incident. 16 days of what I can only describe as financial warfare using spreadsheets instead of firearms. The morning after I wrote, I went straight to a credit union across town to create fresh accounts. The lady behind the desk continued giving me anxious looks as I stammered through my explanation of why I wanted accounts that my wife couldn't access. When I eventually stopped speaking, she simply slid a form over the desk and stated she'd seen it before. There is no judgment. There are no questions. It's just efficiency. That's when it dawned on me. This happens so frequently that they have a protocol. I redirected my direct deposit, which thankfully would not arrive until the next pay week. We left just enough money in our joint account to satisfy our immediate expenses. Then I spent 3 days creating spreadsheets, not just simple finances. I conducted a thorough forensic accounting on our marriage. 4 years of transactions organized into categories, with brief notes on what each was for. The findings were illuminating. Skylar had spent $11,642 in the last year alone on clothes, makeup, and what I generously classed as personal items. That's nearly $1,000 per month, on stuff, while I worked overtime and ate noodles for lunch to make ends meet. And the ends were not even meeting. We had $8,300 in credit card debt, which I was unaware of until I went through all of our accounts. It turns out that those forgot to pay instances applied to much more than just rent. I printed everything color-coded and with small sticky tabs. Because if I was going to end my marriage, I was going to do it with well-organized evidence. For the record, witnessing 4 years of financial abuse put out in Excel has strange psychological effects. I alternated between wanting to vomit and high-five myself for finally recognizing the reality. Skylar had changed dramatically by the time I returned home 3 days later. The apartment was spotless. She had prepared my favorite supper. She'd even put on her pricey cosmetics, which she saves for special occasions. The manipulation was so clear it was almost endearing. Imagine witnessing a toddler lie about eating cookies as their face is smeared with chocolate. I sat down at our kitchen table, set my binder of financial documents between us, and began chatting. Calmly. I explained that I was aware of my credit card debt, that I had misdirected my paycheck, that I had determined exactly how much of our joint expenses I would cover going forward, and how much she would have to contribute. For the first 30 seconds, she just stared, as if her brain couldn't comprehend the reality that I was actually sticking up for myself. Then came the waterworks. Then come the accusations. Then the promises of transformation. The typical manipulation trifecta. I'd seen it so many times that it almost seemed scripted. But this time, I did not fold. This time, I had my binder of truth and enough righteous rage to power a small city. When she realized that crying wasn't working, she changed tactics. She began to mention how her friend Lindsay had recently gone through a difficult time with her spouse and had successfully resolved it. How marriage is about supporting one another during difficult times. If she got a job tomorrow, I'd be thrilled. I just turned to page 23 of my binder. The document has all of her past promises to find a job, properly dated and categorized by excuse. That's when things became ugly. She called me every single name in the book. Said I was financially abusing her by controlling the money. Said I'd always been cheap and weak. She claimed she only stayed with me out of pity. And you know what? The craziest part was that having her say all of it out loud made me feel better. As if she was finally being truthful for the first time in our marriage. That night, I moved into the extra room. Set up what my buddy Lawson refers to as a depression nest, consisting of a mattress on the floor, my laptop, and enough clothes to get by. It wasn't much, but it was mine. And for the first time in years, I slept through the night without waking up worried about finances. The following week felt like I was living with a stranger, who was changing personas to see which one would work best for me. One day, she'd be nice and sorry, preparing coffee, and inquiring about my day. The next moment, she'd be cold and aloof, slamming doors and moaning deeply. Then she'd be realistic, sitting down with job search websites and asking for my assistance with her resume. I remained nice, yet detached. Answered direct questions briefly. I didn't take the bait when she tried to start a fight. Gray rocking is a term used on the internet to describe when someone becomes so uninteresting and inattentive that they lose interest in attempting to persuade you. It turns out that it works. But the major changes began when the money ran out, roughly a week after I rerouted my salary. Her credit card was denied while trying to purchase delivery. I was in the guest room, but I could hear her on the phone, trying several cards and becoming increasingly irritated. The next day, she attempted to buy something online and allegedly had the same problem. That afternoon, I received a calendar warning that our auto insurance was due, something she had usually handled with our combined funds. Except today, there was insufficient funds in that account. Reality was setting in, one denied transaction at a time. She confronted me in the kitchen 2 nights ago, wanting to know what I had done. I calmly stated that I was now covering exactly 50% of our combined expenses, including rent, utilities, groceries, and car insurance. Nothing more. Nothing less. If she wanted to spend money, she would have to contribute. For a moment I thought she was going to hit me. Her expressions ranged from astonishment and bewilderment to fury, calculating, and eventually defeat. All in roughly 15 seconds. Yesterday morning I awoke to find a message on the kitchen countertop. She planned to spend a few days with her friend Cheryl, to think about things. She packed her laptop, makeup and enough clothing for a week. And you know what? Somehow the apartment feels larger. Her wrath and entitlement had taken up physical space that I could now breathe in. I am not naive enough to believe this is over. Skylar is not the sort to relinquish her meal ticket without a fight. But for the first time in our marriage, I'm not frightened to argue. I have my binder. I've got separate accounts. Most importantly, I've received confirmation that I'm not insane for expecting an adult to behave like an adult. My lawyer, a straight-talking woman who reminds me of my no-nonsense aunt, believes I'm in a fortunate situation. We are tenants. No children. While having mutual debt is unfortunate, we do not own property together. She is drafting separation documents that will divide our debts proportionally based on who accumulated them. Which means Skylar is going to discover that all those spa days and stuff were not free. I should be sad. This is the end of my marriage after all. But basically, I feel like I've been lugging a bag full of rocks for 4 years, and I've finally put it down. My shoulders feel lighter. Cheryl messaged me this morning. Skylar wants to meet and work things out. It appears she has been crying non-stop and is aware of what she has done. I agreed to meet her tomorrow at a coffee shop. Neutral ground where she couldn't throw something, like my meal, or yell without humiliating herself. I have a feeling this will be the performance of a lifetime. Oscar-worthy tears. Promises of change. Perhaps even some strategic cleavage. But this time, I'm going in with fresh eyes and an exit strategy. Update 2. Well, it occurred. She ordered a $12 latte. Skylar's decision to spend $12 on a premium coffee, while lamenting about her financial situation, characterized our relationship perfectly. The coffee shop meeting went just as I expected. She arrived looking as if she had just come off the set of a sad music video. Slightly smudged mascara, stylishly disheveled hair, and that blue sweater, which I once remarked brought out her eyes. The manipulation was so clear that it was nearly impressive. For 2 hours straight, she went through her best hits. Tears, promises, guilt trips, and, when all else failed, cryptic hints about how beautiful her coworker Gage finds her. Everything was deliberately planned to make me feel like a hero capable of saving her, or a villain intent on wrecking her life. 4 years ago, it would have worked. Hell, 4 weeks ago, that could have worked. But sitting across from her, with my lawyer's counsel fresh in my memory and 16 days of uninterrupted sleep under my belt, all I saw was a con artist, whose favorite victim had finally figured out the game. I passed the separation agreement across the table. I gave her 2 options: sign it and handle it like adults, or fight me and waste her remaining money on legal bills. The agreement was more than fair. I even volunteered to take on 60% of our joint credit card debt, despite the fact that my spreadsheets plainly show she is responsible for the majority of it. She did not even read it. Just pushed it aside and said we could work it out if I stopped being so petty about money. Classic Skylar, treating a financial nuclear bomb as if it were a little quarrel about which TV to watch. I left her sitting there, still talking about how we could start fresh. I walked out mid-sentence. I felt like I was in a movie. Except there was no dramatic music. Just the awkward shuffle of coffee shop patrons trying not to stare at the crying woman. It was 37 days ago. Since then, things have been chaotic, but better. It's like I've been recovering from a 4-year relationship addiction. The first few weeks were difficult. Nightmares, second-guessing myself, gazing at my phone, wondering if I should just call and say I'd changed my mind. But then, unexpectedly, Cheryl reached out to me. Skylar's friend turned out to be less supportive than she had imagined. Cheryl began asking questions after 2 weeks of listening to Skylar's version of events, and witnessing her consume Cheryl's food and hospitality without contributing. Then she began to notice irregularities. Then she looked me up on social media and messaged me. We met for coffee. I got a regular drip, $5. Because I'm still healing the financial damage from my marriage. Cheryl shyly acknowledged that Skylar had been badmouthing me to everyone for years, portraying herself as a long-suffering wife supporting her failing husband through career struggles. This was the polar opposite of reality. But what is the best part? Cheryl had receipts, screenshots of Skylar talking in their group chat about how she trained me to pay all the bills, while she retained her own money. Pictures of buying sprees with the phrase, "Hubby doesn't know LOL." Text messages whining about having to pretend to look for work, simply to get me off her back. My 4-year marriage, explained in poisoned texts. I did not even feel angry, just got validated. It was like finally obtaining proof that I wasn't going insane. Cheryl apologized for trusting Skylar's falsehoods, said she recognized warning signs but ignored them since Skylar was so convincing. Then she did something unexpected. She promised to be a witness if the divorce turned ugly. She said she couldn't stand by and let someone be used like that. It turns out that not everyone has a damaged moral compass like my soon-to-be ex-wife. Speaking of Skylar, reality struck her like a freight train around 3 weeks after our coffee shop rendezvous. Her credit cards were maxed out. Her parents, who, I subsequently discovered, were not the monsters she claimed, but rather ordinary people tired of supporting her lifestyle, refused to send further money. Cheryl had instructed her to start paying rent, or find another place to stay. That was when the phone calls began. 3, 4, or 5 times per day. Voicemails alternate between crying apologies and nasty threats. The texts ranged from, "I miss you so much, baby," to, "You're going to die alone and miserable." The emotional whiplash was taxing. But my attorney had prepped me. Document everything. Respond modestly. Never engage with the insane. So that is what I did. Then came the day I had been quietly dreading. Relocation day. I had found a little studio apartment across town. Nothing extravagant, but it's clean, has good water pressure, and, most significantly, my name is the only one on the lease. I made arrangements to pick up my belongings while Skylar was supposed to be at a job interview, her first in months, that happened to be scheduled just when rent was due. However, she was not at an interview. She was waiting in the flat, sitting on the couch like the last boss in a video game I'd never play. For some strange reason, I almost laughed. Of course, she would ambush me. Of course, she'd make things tougher than they needed to be. Of course, she was wearing her blue sweater again. My friend Holden, who came to assist me move, tightened up alongside me right away. He'd heard all of the stories, but now he was experiencing the Skylar show live for the first time. The following 2 hours were the most uncomfortable of my life. Skylar alternated between helping pack dishes, strange, and accidentally dumping items I cared about, predictable. Making small chat with Holden, as if we were all pals hanging out, very uncomfortable. Asking pointed inquiries about my new surroundings, which I purposefully kept vague. I was waiting for the explosion the entire time, the yelling, the throwing of objects, the theatrical announcements. But it never arrived. Instead, when I finished the last box, she handed me an envelope and explained that she had been thinking a lot. Inside was the signed separation agreement. There are no modifications. There is no negotiation. Only her signature appeared on each highlighted line. I stood there, staring at it as if it would explode in my hands. After weeks of arguing, she finally conceded. It didn't make sense. That night, while I sat on my new mattress on the floor of my empty studio, reminiscing about my depressive nest in the spare room, Cheryl texted me an explanation. Skylar apparently met a guy at a bar. Some guy with a nice watch and a fancy car believed her stories about her controlling ex were quite sympathetic. Some guy had previously volunteered to let her stay at his apartment until she could get back on her feet. She had found herself a new ATM. And it became clear that divorcing me as soon as possible was best for her. I should have felt relieved, and a part of me did. But another part of me felt a strange urge to warn the poor man. I want to show him my spreadsheets and screenshots. To protect him from what I had just escaped. I didn't, however. Some lessons can only be learned the hard way. The weeks following have been strangely normal. I go to work. I return home to my little but neat studio. I'm progressively developing my emergency money, which is now up to $1,012. I'm learning to cook beyond my basic bachelor's skills. I installed a budgeting program that does not make me want to throw my phone across the room. The divorce was finalized last week. There's no drama, no court appearance, just paperwork, and a strange dreamlike emptiness when I saw the word dissolved imprinted on what had once been my most significant commitment. I wish I could conclude with some deep wisdom, but the reality is, I am still processing. I still find myself reaching for my phone to text her about anything humorous. I'm still waking up confused when I don't feel her on the other side of the bed. Habits formed over 4 years do not disappear overnight. But I'm also rediscovering aspects of myself that have been dormant for years. I rejoined my old gaming group. I'm talking with my sister again. I purchased concert tickets without considering how many ramen dinners I would need to cover the cost. Thanks for watching and diving into this wild family drama with me. If you love Reddit family drama, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. I am completely at my wit's end. All of a sudden, my son refuses to go into his room, but he refuses to explain why. What should I do? We moved into a new house about a year ago so that my son, who turns 4 next month, can have his own room. We thought the transition would be rough, but he took to his room almost immediately and had no issues. He loved his room, had all his toys in there, bedtime routines went smoothly. Most nights he dozes off after a couple of stories and a smooch on the head. He has his nightlights and we keep his door open, even though he never mentioned being scared of the dark. Something changed on July 4th. He spent a good chunk of the afternoon playing in his room, even refusing to come downstairs for a bit. That same night and every night since, he refuses to go into his room at all, insisting on sleeping in our room. He won't go in with us holding hands, and if we're able to get him in for a second to retrieve a specific toy, he won't go all the way in and then immediately run away back down the hall. He has no problem taking a bath in his bathroom across the hall, but he insists we keep the bathroom door closed. Then he runs straight from the bathroom to our room. We have asked him in all sorts of ways why he doesn't want to go in his room. And he'll deflect either by screaming cowboy hat, a la muffin, or giggling while naming every animal he can think of. We're guessing he had a nightmare at some point, but he did spend the afternoon in his room with no problem on the day this started. We're not getting anywhere here, and as a result I've been sleeping in his room while he shares our bed with my husband. Maybe I'm looking for someone who had a similar experience with their child that can offer up some fresh ideas, or maybe I'm just venting because I miss my bed. Edit 7/23. Thank you so much for all of your great responses, ideas and stories. I think I may have cracked the case here, but now I have to figure out how to go about it. I was just grabbing something in his room around 3 p.m. today and heard what was definitely an animal scurrying on the roof. Probably a squirrel. We have a metal roof and an exposed beam ceiling, so we hear any drop of rain, but I have never until now heard an animal. This would make sense as to why he sometimes keeps naming animals in his room. Now if I'm right, I just have to figure out how to go about this. Relevant comments. Honey. No 8465. My guess is he's either scared or ashamed. Could be fireworks like others are mentioning, or it could be really silly. Hopefully not a ghost. I'm thinking like he pooped in the closet, had a potty accident, vomited, broke or spilled something. Have you torn the room apart to make sure nothing is different about it? OP, my perception is that he seems more scared than ashamed. I've been sleeping in his room every night and checked every single corner, nothing out of the ordinary. I don't think it's the fireworks because there were no fireworks going off in the early afternoon when he was actually in his room, and either way he enjoys fireworks so much. We stayed outside all evening and watched them in both the front and back of the house. I've kept his room as normal and welcoming as possible, especially when he's taking a bath. He might crane his head around the corner to get a peek of his room but ultimately turn and run. We managed a few times to get him to walk a few steps in and grab a specific toy he wanted, but then he bolted. Update. After exactly 1 month, I finally figured it out. I've been busy but wanted to update because I still am so stoked he's back in his room. A few days ago, I got my son to acknowledge a couple of his toys from the doorway, and he stepped in a little bit with encouragement. I then took the opportunity to point at objects in his room and he had a huge reaction to a Marvel poster that had been hanging over his bed since we moved in a year ago. He ran to our bedroom and hid under our covers, so I took it off the wall and walked it through the hallway. I stopped at our room for confirmation and he freaked out when he saw I was holding it. I told him that it's going in the garbage and he's never going to see it ever again. I hid it downstairs for later disposal, came back upstairs and told him it was gone. He leapt out of our bed and hurried down the hall to his room and jumped in excitement that evil face is gone. He then screamed in excitement about his Mario Kart bed, tossed my pillow off, threw his Mario pillow on and tucked himself in. I was so ecstatic I danced around with him the rest of the night singing No More Evil Face. We played with all the toys he missed. He slept in his room that night and has since been spending even more time in his room playing by himself. He brings up nightly that evil face is gone and his room is fun. To those who are curious, it was a Marvel framed poster with like 100 plus superheroes and villains. He had always named even some of the more obscure characters. My husband is a comic book guy and passed on this knowledge. I'm not sure which character scared him in particular, but I theorize it was either MODOK or Ego the Living Planet. I didn't stop to have him point out which was the evil face. Relevant comments. What the poster looked like. A picture of the poster, 100 Marvel characters Charmander _ I knew it. Yes, Ego and MODOK have very evil faces. Another contender could be Armin Zola OP, that one too, but I couldn't remember his name TBH when my husband put it up. I felt like one day he would be scared of some of the sinister faces on it, but it just didn't click since it had always been there. Coca-Cola. When my son was a baby I put Mickey Mouse and Friends wall stickers near his changing table. He got terrified of their eyes or something and I had to remove them. When he was a preschooler, I bought him pajamas that had a polar bear face on them and its eyes were angled and fierce looking. He was scared of it. I took a Sharpie and rounded the polar bear's eyes and brought his eyebrows out and down to look kinder. I was proud of myself for that one. OP, yep, I think it's best to stay away from eyes and front-facing heads for decor. He still has his big Mario movie poster with Mario and Luigi, but their heads are turned so it's not so aggressive. Plus he loves Mario and Luigi and they're so the opposite of scary. I'm leaving my boyfriend after 2 years together because of his prenup demands. Why I chose to walk away from a relationship that felt one-sided. I'm 34F, breaking up with my boyfriend, 34M, because of a prenup. I've been with my boyfriend for about 2 years. Everything is going well and we love each other. We've been discussing marriage and he mentioned he would not marry me without a prenup. We discussed this in detail, and I did not like what he proposed. His family owns a lot of property, land and has lots of savings. After marriage, he wants me to move into one of the houses his parents own. I told him I'm uncomfortable building a life and a family in a house I have no ownership in, and he didn't understand. I told him I'd prefer to rent a place together, or we can live temporarily in one of his parents' houses and look at property together, but he refused. He said he liked the houses his parents and he already owned. He said he would not buy other property. He said he would not sell any of his property to buy one with me. He told me if I wanted to own property, I could save up money by living in one of these properties and invest in one myself. Problem is, he would be entitled to half if we divorced since my purchase would happen after marriage. He told me I could pay his parents' rent if I feel like I don't belong on the property. He told me I could buy half of the house we live in from his parents. Problem is, I don't like the houses that him or his parents own. They also have a lot of stuff and I feel like there's no space for me. I want to look at houses, I want to pick the place I live in, and I want to do it with my partner. I've made this clear to him over and over, but he won't budge. He earns more than me, and he has more assets than me for sure. He made it clear he was afraid I was a gold digger, and he wanted to protect himself and his family's assets from me, which I can understand. This whole thing has made me feel very weird. This topic has come up before, and it has always made me feel very small. It makes me feel like all he cares about are his assets. It makes me feel like he wants me as long as I fit into the life he already built and doesn't care to build one with me. It makes me feel like a gold digger. He has enough money to retire right now and live comfortably. I don't. He basically told me that whatever money he earns now, he can spend, so he won't be investing in too much anymore. He expects our earnings and our savings after marriage to be split. Which I feel off about. I'm sure this is normal for some people. I'm sure other people would be happy to be with someone who was well off. I am not. I want someone beside me building a life with me, not someone who has built a life with his parents and wants me as long as I behave and fits into his life, which is how he's been making me feel. So I'm leaving him. I welcome opinions on this. But yeah, it's been too long that this has made me feel off about our relationship. I'm protecting my peace and leaving him with all his houses and money. TLDR, BF and I are talking about marriage. Boyfriend and his family are well off. He wants me to live in a house I don't own, and doesn't want to look at houses with me. Wants half of post-prenup assets. So I'm leaving? Relevant comments. OP adds context to the prenup talk during their relationship. No. He mentioned prenups very early, and I would keep asking him about the details, but he would keep it very vague, and assure me we would work it out when the time came. I never asked him about his assets, and I never actually knew how much assets his family had. The only things I knew were from some of his one-off comments about certain assets. If he mentioned this tenant or that tenant, or this thing they have to repair, etc., etc. I had also initiated these conversations. He mentioned wanting to live with me and work towards marriage. I figured then that time had come. This is when I sat him down and asked him what he expected from me, what he wanted, and to clarify the conditions of any prenups he wanted to propose. He still tried to dodge my inquiry. It took so long for me to pull this information out of him. I guess I did wait 2 years, but marriage talks seemed like the right time to push him to discuss it. Update. So many things have happened. This is a bit of a rant, and I know I'm missing parts, but I'll try to cover the important bits. Before I start, here's some important context. I have a stable and rewarding career, and though I don't earn as much as him, I am very happy with what I can afford. My parents have always taught me that women should be independent, and I've taken that to heart. I live below my means, which has allowed me to put aside money for savings and investments. A lot of comments have mentioned that I should take the free rent and that it would somehow set me forward in life, but for me, giving up my sense of autonomy and control over my home, my safe space, is not worth the potential savings. I lived with my parents and saved aggressively until I was 30. So I am lucky enough to be in a position where I can comfortably afford rent or a mortgage by myself. Plus, he expected the living situation to be permanent. I would not move into a house owned by someone else just to save on rent. Would it be nice to save $2,000 a month? Sure. But most people pay rent, and I am not an exception. If I really wanted that, I could move back in with my parents. But again, autonomy is very important to me. Also, if he's this stubborn now, I don't see how this situation could be improved later after I already moved in. I could also counter the prenup and make it so all my accumulated assets stay mine, or put in a clause that I'll be compensated for any children we have, or put that I'd get alimony or at least have a roof over my head in case we divorce. But for me, that feels overly transactional. It also gives me the vibes that I'm going to be living with a roommate who I sleep with and might have babies with, not a partner. I prefer to feel like we're in it together. He can keep what was his, but I want to build up what is ours. Also, if everything is completely split, it'll open up a new can of worms. How will our expenses be split if I'm working and he's just chilling? What happens when we have children? He has money saved for them, but will I get a say in how we spend that money? I know these can be worked out, but this is not the type of marriage I want. I can't predict everything that will happen, and I don't think I can capture it in a contract. And it's already been so heartbreaking for me, I don't want to go through more. Anyways, yada yada yada. I'll just say that it felt like I was being stripped of my autonomy, stonewalled, and treated like a hostile. Okay, on to updates. So I told him I needed to end this relationship. I appreciated and truly enjoyed my time with him, but our financial values and the preferred married lifestyle just don't match. It was a quick and easy conversation tbh. I expected the breakup to be a bit of a process, not a one and done thing, since our lives overlap a lot. I'm also in contact with a lot of his family, so OFC, during this whole time, a lot of them got involved. But blah blah. Not super relevant to updates. Talk with his parents. Okay, I love his parents. I had a great relationship with them. I would go over to their house, we would have food, chat, watch TV, sometimes I would go to the parties they host without my ex if he was busy. A few days after my talk with my ex, I went over to say goodbye. I didn't know if the prenup was family enforced or not, so I kept it very general and mainly focused on how the situation made me feel and what I was looking for in a relationship. His parents were shocked when I told them why I was leaving. I'm going to bullet point the rest. His parents really want grandbabies. However, my ex's younger brother and SIL do not want kids. They were so happy when I came into their lives and she found out I wanted kids. His parents had created their wealth together, with his dad being the major breadwinner for most of the relationship. His mom was shocked at what he was offering me, saying these aren't the values he was raised with. She had been effectively retired since almost 15 years ago and she said ex's dad never made her feel uncomfortable because of the difference in earning potential. They told me that they built their assets for themselves and their children. They said that includes whoever their children decided to share their lives with. They have many properties. However, they also have enough investments that they can live off of those. They told me their plan was to sign over a house of our choosing as a wedding gift, or sell a house and give us cash so we could buy a house we both wanted. As they got older, they planned to evenly divide their properties between my ex and his brother, since they wouldn't want to manage the properties anymore, and live off investments. Ex's mom said she would have made sure my name was on my ex's portion, especially since we were wanting kids. They mentioned investments will go directly into funds for grandkids after their passing. Maybe this is what my ex was referring to when he said his children would be set. Bit morbid though. Ex's mom told me that the mother of her grandbabies would be taken care of, and she wanted us to be on equal footing while raising a family. TBH, this conversation was kind of like a weight off my chest. I always loved his family and never felt excluded, but the prenup talks left me confused and hurt. What they said fit with what I knew from my ex and them before. I'd be lying if I said I didn't start imagining this life I talked to my ex again. I'll bullet point this too. Basically, he told me, his dad had joked before about how he hoped him and his brother would not find gold diggers, and that's where that comment came from. He felt responsibility to protect his parents' assets, since he didn't feel entitled to them. So by extension, I wasn't entitled either. In his culture, sons carry on the family line, so he felt he had to keep his assets in the family line, which I'm not part of, but any sons we had would be. Most of the assets he's worried about are under his parents' name, and he had never asked for their opinion on what to do. He just did what he thought he should be. He also said he isn't that well off, and that his assets shouldn't come between us. This is still confusing to me. Isn't this whole thing because he was well off, and wanted to hold on to what he had and not create a shared lifestyle? I think maybe he meant he didn't own much, and most things actually were under his parents' name. He felt he was punching above his weight with me, and was scared I would leave him. He was afraid I was with him because of his finances, since that was the only thing he had more of, whereas he said I am intelligent, hardworking, beautiful, blah blah. He was scared about moving forward with the relationship, but instead of communicating, he became defensive. To me, it seems like he said and did things because he was feeling deeply insecure. He had made a couple passing comments before about me being more beautiful than him, or how I'm more hardworking, etc., but I had always taken them as compliments, not self-deprecating comments towards himself. He's such a caring, funny, and intelligent person, just in a different way than me. Also, I know he's not as confident as he comes across, but I had no idea that his insecurities ran this deep. He also apologized over and over about how he didn't mean to make me feel like an outsider to him and his parents, and insisted that he wanted to share a life with me. He said his insecurities and fear got the best of him, and he didn't handle it well. He had taken advantage of my patience and lashed out because he felt inadequate and scared. It broke my heart, because I think all this could have been avoided. We've been through this song and dance before many times, where he would feel some sort of way, then act out as he's processing it. Until now, I always stay through it and we move on. But it's never gone on for so long. But I guess the issues we've faced before were smaller compared to mapping out our whole lives. I've pushed him to seek individual counseling and we've attended couples counseling together, but I can't force him to sit and identify his emotions or employ the tools we were taught. The prenup conversation happened over a long period of time. He had so many chances to pump the brakes and reflect on what he was saying, and simply just listen to me. But he didn't. He then sat in front of me saying that everything he said before was not what he meant. He said he would be happy to take care of me and our future kids. We could buy a house together, or rent if I wanted to, because now he wasn't scared about creating a life together. Completely opposite to everything he had been saying. But how unsettling is it that he seemed so completely comfortable and confident in the hurtful words he previously said, and was okay with placing me in a very unequal position in the relationship. Despite me continuously trying to articulate what I wanted, and how he was making me feel, he didn't even consider my side. Over months. I know I have a good deal, with what his parents are offering, and I know him and I get along super well. But I'm not marrying his parents. I can't have his mom with us during every argument or life decision we take. Thinking back, I can count on one hand where we've run into issues, and he was able to address it without acting up. He's such a nice guy, but I can't be his garbage bin every time he needs to sort out his feelings. It's already worn me down. He's a grown man, he's intelligent and intuitive, he's had 2 years to learn how to communicate with me, and he's not. I honestly can't tell if what he said to me is genuine, or coming from his parents, or coming from a fear of losing me. I could give him the benefit of the doubt again, and move forward with the relationship, as I've done in the past, but I'm tired. I think this is a fixable problem, but I also have not seen any improvement since we started dating. If anything, this prolonged experience has made me feel it's gotten worse. I will not make the mistake of investing in a man because of what he could be instead of who he is. If the last few months are a testament to how he handles stressful situations, I can only take things as they are, and assume they won't change. This whole thing has left me sour. I don't need too much, but I do expect to be treated with love and support, even during times of disagreement. I cannot just forget the feelings and words I've felt and heard over the last couple of months. I can't just unhear and unknow that he is afraid I'm a gold digger. That was just one of many comments that really hurt me. I think life will have a lot more ups and downs, and I cannot imagine what kind of difficulties we will face if this is how we communicate, even after identifying it and working on it in therapy. For these reasons, I'm still choosing to walk away. Very diff from leaving because of a prenup, but it is leaving nonetheless. And TBH, this hurts more. I know it will hurt for a while, but I pray I'll be avoiding heartache and complications in the future. Who knows? If it was meant to be, maybe we'll find our way back. For now, I've told him and his family I need space and time. I know that it seems like I'm giving up a lot, but there are things I can't put in a post. I actually wrote the above quite early. But I didn't post because it didn't feel like it was over. But now after this time, I know it is. It's been tough, and it's only been a couple months, but I'm sure I made the right call. It's tough watching everyone coupled up and having children, but it is what it is. I'm proud of myself for leaving and I'm slowly healing. Thank you everyone for your comments and DMs. Sorry I couldn't get back to everyone, but I appreciate you all. My best friends and wife forgot my big moment, and now I'm struggling to cope with the betrayal. Pretext: I completely understand there are much greater tragedies out there than what I'm about to describe. Need to write this out and appreciate any feedback or strategies. Myself, my wife and friends from college, including best friend and his wife, have been doing a college football pick'em league for the last 12 years. It's for fun, but I'd say most everyone takes it somewhat seriously. Since we've had the league, different people won, but for 6 years in a row one particular guy kept winning. Each year, we have a big tailgate party at a game where the winner of the previous year is honored with a speech and trophy. Last year, we even arranged for a surprise cameo to be played at the tailgate for the guy who won his 6th in a row. I broke his streak last year and won the league, but I was also the person who typically got the trophy and arranged the cameo or some of the other cool things we've done. So yesterday was our big tailgate, and it was my chance at being recognized as the person who won the previous year. A few hours in, my wife had a few drinks and said, "I don't even know what we're doing this year for. Person who won 6 years in a row." Then I said that actually I had won and her whole face changed. Our friend standing next to her turned white as a ghost. First they laughed, then said, "No wait, it was you." I realized that until that moment it hadn't occurred to them, or anyone, to do anything. There was no trophy, speech, anything. My best friend quickly gets told by my wife that they forgot to do something and says nothing. Can't make eye contact, gets worse for me. After it sets in, I'm in the bathroom an hour later. I walk out and some people start clapping, because my wife had awkwardly arranged for the crowd at the party to do something. It's worse, because the guy who won 6 years in a row and had been a recipient of some cool stuff is laughing hysterically that everyone forgot to do anything. I'm just sad. I don't really want to talk to my wife. She gave me a very short apology this morning and offered sex to cheer me up. Made it worse? Drove 6 hours home crying here and there, wondering how a group of people I love and care about would drop the ball. Sent a text out to some saying how shitty it was to be forgotten. Sucks. I'm sure tomorrow I'll be less sad. Relevant comments. Comment 1, you're the planner. You're the one that keeps people together and makes sure no one or thing is forgotten. So when you don't do all the work, no one else does. It's really crappy they forgot to celebrate your win. You deserved a hurrah and they let you down. Really sorry OP. Congrats. Comment 2, they did drop the ball, and then handled it really inappropriately. Sincere apologies were needed ASAP and then making it up to you. I'd truly join another league just to take your mind off it and detach a little from that scene. Even if they don't do celebrations, you're the planner of the group that still isn't cool. I hate football, but this got me worked up. Comment 3, everyone likes to accept rewards and praise, but not everyone likes to return the favor. OP went out of their way to make sure whoever won had a good time and felt special, for 6 years, and got nothing in return when it was his time to shine. And to top it off, his wife is trying to downplay it and act like he's overreacting. Feels bad. Least they could do is apologize, especially the MF who laughed after OP is the one who made his win special in the first place. Comment 4, next time your wife is upset, offer her sex to cheer her up. Comment 5, this isn't stupid at all. You're validated in feeling how you do, and it's shitty as fuck that your friends, and wife, didn't recognize how important this was to you. I totally get it, it isn't about fantasy football, it's the pretense of the entire situation. Honestly, if it were me, I would tell my friends via phone call or face to face, not text, and tell them how it made you feel unappreciated as a member of the friend group, as well as how it hurt how they reacted after realizing you were the winner, not because it was over a game of fantasy football, but because this is clearly something you all put effort and emphasis into for multiple years, and there's no excuse for just brushing you off. I would also tell your wife how it made you feel with offering sex. Sex isn't something to be rewarded or withheld, and that set off smoke alarm bells for me personally. You deserve to be surrounded by people who appreciate you the same way you do for them. This isn't something to accept, it's important that you say something. I know it's uncomfy, but it's worth it. Sending you love, OP. Thank you very much, really. I teared up that anyone felt sympathetic. I'm in my house and feel like I'm on an island by myself. Update, it's tomorrow, after a night where I slept in the guest bedroom. Late last night I got an email apology from the girl who turned white when she found out. My wife woke up at 6 to get ready for work, and I was up helping kids get ready for school. She wanted to talk, and asked if I could talk also. I was half awake and didn't have any thoughts put together. The first thing she says is that I need to keep perspective. She said that it's not as if she cheated on me, she forgot something big, but there are much worse things that could have happened. I didn't respond. She asked how long she was going to be punished for this, and I just responded by saying it wasn't all about her. She is visibly frustrated and I'm too afraid to say something that will ignite her. I feel like she's desperate for me to say anything. I realize she's not comforting me or trying to understand. She wants full resolution before we have to take kids trick or treating tonight. That's it for now. She texted good morning, and I haven't responded. Relevant comments. Comment 1. When the planner doesn't plan, shit doesn't get done. I am sorry that your lame-ass friends didn't treat you well by remembering to celebrate your win. I'm even more sorry that none of them had the guts to come clean and apologize in front of the group for being such a shitty friend. And finally, to the guy that laughed, and who no one shut down when he was, please accept my 2-finger salute over the internet. Now that I've established that I'm firmly on your side, I ask you, what do you want to have happen now? Think long and hard about what it is that you want. Yes, this whole fantasy football thing is shitty, but what sort of friends are these guys outside of this situation? Would you call them if you needed help moving, and would they come? If you suffered a real tragedy, would any of them be another shoulder to cry on? If you have kids, or were to have kids in the future, Would you invite these people to be a part of your child's life? If these people are merely the college fantasy football bros, then maybe you need to consider letting them all go. You've devoted considerable time and effort, and maybe money, into making these events fun for them, but when the time came for them to return the favor, they didn't care enough to get the job done. I don't blame them for not being more sincere in their apologies on the day this all went down. By your account, they were all caught flat-footed, and it's hard for most of us to admit our mistakes and apologize properly when we're still processing what an asshole we've been. Have any of them reached out since? Only you can decide how much these people mean to you and whether you want them in your life going forward. If I were you, I would write a huge screed about everything I'd done for the group over the past years, trying to make this event a yearly spectacle. I wouldn't cuss or throw around insults, but I would make it very clear to everyone that this event is so much fun every year because of my hard work. Then I'd end it with how disappointed I was that none of them saw fit to return the favor when I was the winner. I would absolutely point out that the previous winner laughed and was a complete jerk, and that it was shitty of them not to shut that noise down, but I'm petty like that. Maybe you're not that petty. I'd fire this off into the group chat, or whatever you guys use to communicate, and see what happens. Maybe you'll get a ton of heartfelt apologies, and they'll plan an extravaganza in your honor, and all will be well. Or maybe you'll get back a bunch of hate, and you'll see their true colors. Either way, you'll have your answer as to what sort of friends they really are. Once you've sorted the friends situation, you'll need to sort things with your wife. I have a lot of questions for her, and I imagine you do too. Why didn't she organize something to celebrate your win, for starters? The wife might be something that requires marriage counseling, but only you two can determine that. OP, I don't know. I don't want anything. As of this morning, I'm just wanting to not have this tension with my wife. But I'm kinda stuck on feeling let down, and she's supposed to be the person that doesn't do that. Comment 2. Is your wife always as shitty as she seems here? OP, no, she's great, and a wonderful partner. But one major part of her personality is that she hates any feeling of having done something wrong. It's like she becomes a different person. Comment 3. So, bad sex and a weak apology is how she makes up for it. Comment 4. And then getting upset at OP for feeling hurt and making it about herself. My husband and I are on the brink of divorce, and we are desperately seeking advice. Can our marriage be saved? Throwaway account due to friends' family following the main account, omitting some personal information for sake of anonymity. I'm going to try and make a timeline of events in our relationship for context. TLDR at bottom. Met when we were 9, started dating at 12, mind you this was that middle school type of dating. He cheated on me when we were 15 or 16, at this point we were on again, off again, which continued until we were 17. I got a full ride to a university across the country for athletics and academics when I was 18. My first and only semester there, I hated. I hated the team and the coaches, and I had no friends. He flew out to visit me and we got engaged at 18 years old. He flew back a little over a month later and we had a courthouse wedding. I came home after the semester finished. He was 18 and I was 19 when he joined a very difficult prestigious branch of the military. He left for 3 months for training, which was difficult but we did fine. He came back for a few weeks and then left for a few more months for school for his particular job. During this time, I would later find out, he signed himself up on Bumble, and paid $50+ in upgrades for more swipes. He insists he never met anyone from it and no conversations that he had were ever anything more than introductions. He also, again, I would later find out a few years later, spent over $600 at a strip club. He says he was pressured by seniors to go and ended up paying for a VIP room for one of his buddies because he got the room and then didn't have the money to pay for it, and my husband said his friend was going to get into trouble. That weekend, he would go up and down the coast going to various clubs and another strip club from what I've gathered. At 19, we moved states and got our first house together. At 20, he deployed. This would be a very difficult time in our lives, and even more difficult after he got home. He developed a pornography addiction while deployed. I remember sitting on the bathroom floor at 4 a.m. refreshing one of his social media accounts, which I could see his following numbers go up about every 5 minutes. All porn accounts. He pressured me for pictures and videos and I would feel guilty for not doing the things he wanted, and I felt like if I didn't he was just going to find someone else to do it for him. He came home 6 months later and we were okay, except I noticed after a few weeks that as soon as he came home from work he would practically beeline it to the bathroom and shower for 45+ minutes. Sometimes I would even go into the bathroom after and I could tell he dropped the bottle of lube on the ground and it was still slippery. Or I could see the ring on the counter from the bottom of the bottle. I did my best to ignore it, until one day I saw a charge on our account for $30 to someone with a very interesting name. I confronted him and he immediately looked away, took a deep breath, brushed his hand through his hair and sputtered out a quick excuse that it was his buddy's wife who bought them all lunch during work. I don't know why, but I said okay and left it at that. He got up a few minutes later saying he felt sick and went to lay down. I got a text from him an hour later saying he was sorry and that he developed a pornography addiction over deployment and he sent money to a girl for her premium Snapchat or something. He says he felt so guilty he didn't even look at anything and he deleted her right after he sent the money. I realized that the day this transaction took place, he had bought me flowers. He has never done that before, not even on any special occasions. From here on the dates get confusing for me. I don't remember what happened first or when or how far apart, but I'll do my best to include as much information as I remember. Sometime later, maybe weeks, maybe months, I woke up to a message from an old acquaintance on a certain social media site. I think we were still 20 or maybe 21. I don't remember what exactly she said, something along the lines of, "I just wanted you to know Hex said this to me." Or something like that. He had messaged her the night prior, whilst drinking at a friend's house down the road, that he loved and missed her. I wish so badly I could remember more, but for some reason I can't. I know she said something like, "You can't be saying that you're married." And he said something along the lines of, "I don't care." I screamed at him to wake up, but he was still drunk. I told him I wanted a divorce. I locked myself in the bathroom and hurt myself because I wanted to feel anything other than how I felt at that moment. I don't know how much time passed. When he opened the door, he said he didn't send those messages. He said that he left his phone plugged into the speaker and his friend was using it to play music. He said his friend must have seen the girl's story and messaged her trying to get nudes. He even pulled out his phone with proof, a text conversation between him and his friend confirming that the friend had messaged her and said he was sorry. I don't know why, but I believed him immediately. I remember having the most euphoric feeling of, I don't know what the word is, but whatever you feel when you let out a breath you've been holding and say, "Oh, thank God." I'm getting frustrated writing this because I'm realizing how much I'm forgetting and I feel like I'm missing something. At 21 I think, shit hit the fan. I think at this point I had gone through his phone several times and found internet history and links that he had clicked through one of his social media accounts to hundreds of different OnlyFans sites. One night I went through his entire dollar account history since 2018 and found the charge for the strip club and Bumble. He said the Bumble charge wasn't him, it was a senior who used his card because he had gotten frozen or something ridiculous like that. I of course believed him. I don't know why. I can't remember at what point I found out that he lied about messaging the girl on social media. I think it was after I had looked through his phone again and I found text messages between him and his friend that was the one who allegedly sent the messages. His friend said something like, "Bro, I can't even go to parties that your wife is at because she hates me lol," or something like that. But they both confirmed what I didn't want to believe. My husband had taken my phone, deleted the messages sent to me by the girl, and got his friend in on this elaborate story. I can't remember when I found out that he did in fact download and pay for upgrades on Bumble. I think I just knew at this point he was lying, and grilled him long enough that he relented. He said he never met anyone or anything, and he said during the conversation, "I only paid for the upgrade because no one would ever swipe for me." Or something like that. I can't remember at what point we went to Legal on Base and got information to file for divorce. I'd never seen him cry before besides one other time. After we got married, at the airport, he cried so hard and he wouldn't let me see. Just hugged me and buried my face in his chest so I wouldn't see. He said he didn't want to leave. But he cried constantly after I told him this was it and that I had an appointment and paperwork filled out to file for divorce. I'd never seen him like this before. Constantly saying he was sorry, deleting every social media account he'd ever owned. Crying at the drop of a pin. Saying things like he will never marry again, I could have everything in our savings, he'd pay for me to finish college if that's what I wanted. I relented and we went to marriage counseling. He stepped up a lot. He was never on his phone anymore. Would keep his phone unlocked and face up on the table. Told me I could go through it any time I asked. Promised to stop watching porn. He even started cleaning the house and making dinner before I got home from work. He stopped drinking with his friends. It was a complete 180. For a while. The issues started to arise when every little thing would trigger a panic attack. He couldn't hang out with his friends without me freaking out. He began drinking with his friends again maybe a few weeks later. One night he wasn't home by the time he told me he would be and I just broke. I ended up in the hospital and it was just the start of this toxic cycle. He would do something that would trigger me, Whether it be drinking with his friends or the occasional YouTube short I would see in his watch history of a half-naked woman with her tits out and bouncing up and down. I would scream at him and berate him and degrade him because I wanted him to feel exactly how I felt. I think marriage counseling eventually helped a lot. After the hospital I finally got my own therapist. She was my best friend. I still text her to this day. I didn't have any friends where we lived. He worked with his friends every day and every weekend they would all party. I didn't have anyone. My friends and family were back home. I'm shy and have really bad social anxiety and have always had trouble making friends because I can't seem to ever open my mouth when there's more than 3 people in the room. Whenever he would leave to go anywhere, I felt so alone. I think at 22 our marriage really started improving again. We went on vacation together and were able to work through a lot of issues and we were able to communicate things we were feeling and it was amazing. We both felt so heard and we were able to find happy mediums on issues and relayed boundaries that each of us respected. I was 23 when I moved home a few months before his contract ended. He tied up his loose ends on the house and work and he moved back home with me. He tried working a night shift blue-collar job, making good money, even more than he made in the military. But he hated it. He hated everything about it. He missed his friends and his job. His friends were his family. This was the first time I'd ever seen him truly depressed. 5 months later he joined a different branch of the military. I didn't want him to. I wanted him to stay and have a normal life with me. I wanted to work normal jobs and have a family. He doesn't. He said he doesn't even want a family. I had started nursing school and my best friend whom I hardly ever got to see had a baby. I finally had a group of friends and family I was able to hang out with every week. He left and got stationed in a different state, but only about 600 miles away this time. Far, but drivable. He came home for a visit after only a week of being there. We were doing good at this point, texting and calling a lot. A little over a month ago he left to go across the country for a 6-week exercise in the desert. He didn't have his phone for most of it, but he was able to text me once over a week ago. He didn't text again after that, until I messaged him letting him know that a pet of mine had died. He replied immediately. I've realized that he has had his phone, but just hasn't been talking to me. Yesterday, he texted me in the morning letting me know that he was going to spend an upcoming holiday with an old military friend from his previous branch, and then the holiday after that he wanted to go see his extended family in a different state. We've talked a lot since then, not about anything good. I've asked why he's pushing me away and he said he's focusing on his goals. I said I felt like I was being put on the back burner until he was ready to acknowledge me and our marriage, and I tried to tell him he didn't have to be alone and that I would support him. He said, "You can't though. You say you can but you didn't support college or the CIA, so I kinda felt I should just do this alone and get rid of some of the negativity." And I realized he was right. He brought up college when we were about 21, maybe 22, and I actually scoffed at him because I didn't realize he was being serious. I didn't believe he could do something like that. He barely graduated high school. He went to 4 different high schools total, never getting above a 1.5 GPA. I tried doing his homework to keep him afloat but he didn't care. I even got him enrolled in the same online academy that I attended, due to public school not fitting around my athletic schedule, and I had to do every class and every assignment for him because he would never do them. He ended up graduating from what you would call an alternative high school. After telling me he wanted to go to college, he then told me he was going to join the CIA. This was just unfathomable to me. I didn't know what to do because he wanted my support, but I also didn't want to lie to him and tell him I believed in him. I guess I still don't. And I feel awful, and I can't imagine the feeling of your spouse not supporting you unconditionally. I don't know how to support him in something I just don't think he can do. And now we're here. Neither of us want a divorce. Both of us know our relationship hasn't been the best. We both don't know what to do. I would feel so lost and empty without him. I've known him for more than half of my life. Our personalities are formed around each other. We talk the same, we have the same mannerisms. We experienced growing up together and becoming adults together. I just want to add that these experiences I've listed were the worst times. We've had amazing experiences together. We have so much fucking fun together. He makes me laugh more than anyone else can. He knows everything about me and has been there for every important moment in my life. I'm absolutely terrified of the future. I'm scared to tell my family if we get a divorce. I don't want to be another statistic. I know we got married young. I know we are a military family. I know that most of these marriages ended in divorce, but I really fucking thought we were different. I don't want to start over. I'm almost 24 and I know that's still considered young, but I've known him for 14 years. I thought we would have started thinking about having a family together by now. He just wants to focus on his career and says he doesn't think he even wants a family. I don't know what to do anymore. If you're still here, thanks for reading. I apologize if I'm all over the place. I haven't ever shared all this with anyone. I'm embarrassed of my situation and feel at a loss at what to do anymore. I'm really nervous to read any replies because I think I know what they're all going to say. TLDR, married young, he's in the military, history of infidelity on his part, verbal abuse on my part and lack of support. Have had successful marriage counseling in the past, but we're at the point where we feel like we want different things, but both of us still love each other and don't want a divorce. Neither of us know what to do. Update 1. After over 1,000 people castigating me in the comment section, I wanted to sort of give an update and answer a few questions. First off, yes, I can in fact type like a motherfucker. I had every intention of creating this post with anonymity, which obviously went down the drain as soon as I started typing. I didn't think this would get more than a couple thousand views and a handful of comments. I typed out every ignominious detail because I needed to see for myself everything in one spot. Someone said I must be exhausting to be around if I tell my friends and family all this. Well, you'll be happy to know that no one knows. I have never told any of my friends and family even a percentage of what has happened. That's why I ended up writing an epic. I wanted someone to know everything and tell me what to do because my brain has become this convoluted, the rose-colored type of convoluted, mess of, I don't even know. I have made my husband out to be this strong, loving, endearing, charismatic provider. And I know why. I've spent my entire life wanting to be the fucking best at everything. My dad's favorite thing he used to say to me every day after practice was second place is just the first loser. And I fucking held on to that. I was the best. I was the best at school. I ranked #1 out of my high school class of over 700 people. I have hundreds of medals and trophies. I did take second place at nationals one year, even though that doesn't feel like an accomplishment to me. I know it should be. But after dropping out of college and leaving behind a full-ride athletic and academic scholarship, I wanted it to be worth something. I never told anyone I left because I hated it and couldn't deal with it. I told everyone I got married and he joined the Marine Corps and I wanted to support him. I didn't want anyone to realize that I couldn't hack it. I wanted it to be worth it. And if I had marriage problems or if I got divorced, it would have just been for nothing. I would have lost again. And I can't lose. I grew up hiding in my closet hearing my dad scream at the top of his lungs at my older siblings because they averaged C's and D's in school. I knew what losing would get you. And I would not lose. My mom cheated on my dad when I was a kid. I remember waking up one morning to them screaming on the front lawn, my mom trying to get into her car to go to work and my dad grabbed her arm and ripped her out of the car. They don't know that I saw that. They worked through it if that's what you want to call it. I thought that was what you were supposed to do. I thought that marriage was supposed to be hard and you were supposed to put every ounce of yourself into fixing your ups and downs. Many have asked if I want to live the rest of my life like this. Of course I don't. Who the fuck would want that? Why did I stay even after the first time? Well, starving people will eat anything. I have actually read every single comment, even the hurtful ones. God damn, you guys are fucking assholes, and I needed it. I fucking needed over 1,000 people telling me I'm a blind idiot to realize that marriage isn't supposed to be like this. And that I deserve better. Because I fucking do. I do fucking deserve better. And for all those saying I'm not going to leave because I haven't yet. I will fucking prove you wrong. I'm not going back anymore. I'm not going to fucking settle. I had heard the phrase sunk cost fallacy, but I didn't know what it meant. I do now. Thank you to everyone. Even the ones who believe this post was a creative writing assignment. It gave me a laugh realizing that my life and my marriage has been so bad, that it's unbelievable. Last side note, yes, I did comment with my main account a few times. It doesn't even matter anymore. And feel free to shoot me a message and tell me I got this, because I'm going to fucking need it. I feel like I've been rug pulled near the edge of a cliff and I can't find my footing. I don't know where the ground is and when it will come. But I know wherever I land it will be better than where I am currently. Update 2. Hi everyone, it's been almost a year. I can't believe it's been almost an entire year. I don't think I've ever made an update like this before, so hopefully I do it right and it's not removed. I meant to update sooner, I really did. But I have been busy living my life to the fullest extent possible. I can honestly say I didn't even think it was possible to enjoy life this much. I have never experienced happiness like this. I'm honestly having a hard time putting it into words how amazing my life has become. I filed for divorce probably within 48 hours of making that post. Papers were signed a month later, divorce was finalized 2 months after that. It was completely uncontested, we shared no assets, No children, thank God. It was actually a lot easier than I expected it to be. Honestly, the hardest part was telling my family, especially my mom. Everyone loved him so much because I, unfortunately, made him out to be so perfect. It was pretty much a slap to the face for her to find out. I felt awful. She cried for days. But she was so supportive of me. Everyone was so damn supportive of me. I turned 25 soon. I decided to get my nurse practitioner's license. So that's the track I'm on right now. I've made an incredible amount of friends this year. If I'm not working, I'm out having fun. I'm always doing something fun every day. I'll try to reply to any comments, but I'm so busy these days. I have truly begun to find myself. And I'm fucking awesome. I am capable of so much. And I am brave. I am so brave. I did make one special friend from my original post, Bethany200300. Thanks to you and my best friend Katie, if you guys are reading this. Thank you for keeping me accountable and loving me unconditionally. I really didn't realize what a horrendous situation I was in. At least, not until after I made that initial post and received so many eye-opening comments. Lots of people were right though. I did already know the answer to my question. It's actually kind of weird thinking about it. It doesn't even feel real. Whenever I try to think about my life over the last couple of years, I can hardly remember anything. It's almost like I'm trying to recall a story that someone else told me. Anything that I do remember, I recall almost like I was a spectator, or an invisible third person in the room. And I just think this poor girl and what she's going through, I can't even imagine how awful. It just doesn't even feel like it was me. My real life started as soon as he was gone. We don't speak anymore. We haven't really spoken much since December. One of the last interactions we had, he was upset about the divorce and regretted it, and then he proceeded to threaten that he would murder anybody that I dated in the future. Yes, it's documented to the best of my ability. I don't think he would ever actually do anything like that. He hasn't even been back in the state this year. I think he's too busy. Last I heard through the grapevine, he got drunk, had a one-night stand and got some girl pregnant. She wants to keep the baby. He doesn't. I think she even took a brick to his car and smashed the shit out of it. If I could give him one last piece of advice, it would be to start a savings account for this poor kid's future therapy bills. And to ask him if he ever realized that almost all of his monumental life mistakes have been committed under the influence of alcohol. But alas, it isn't my problem. He will never hear from me again. And I can say that with complete happiness and confidence. To everyone who said I wouldn't do it and that I wasn't capable of leaving, fuck you and thank you. I did leave. I didn't walk, I ran. I fucking sprinted. And I didn't look back. Thank you, Reddit, for helping me save my life. To anyone who may be going through something similar. You can do it, I believe in you. If I can do it, you can too. The other side is brighter than you could ever imagine. Am I the asshole for laughing when my aunt told my stepmom that depression doesn't excuse sleeping with a married man? Sorry for the long title, I really had no idea what title to explain the situation. My first language is Spanish. Long story short, 2 years ago my father left my mother to go with his mistress, whom I will call Anna, common name. My mother never had any idea about the infidelity. Anna knew that my father was married. She even went to the house with him to take his things. One day he simply told my mother that he is no longer in love with her and wants to be happy with Anna. I was there when everything happened. Anna was depressed. She had many scars on her legs and arms. I don't go to my father's house. It makes me uncomfortable to be around them for obvious reasons. Anna is overly nice and it's really uncomfortable. A few days ago it was my grandfather's birthday and the whole family was together, including Anna. I have an aunt who suffers from depression and other more heavy things like schizophrenia. She has tried to hurt herself many times. At one point in the night there was only my father, my aunt, Anna, another aunt and I in the living room. For some reason my aunt and Anna were talking about some serious things and at one point and began to say that depression made her do many things trying to feel fulfilled, that she could only overcome depression when she met my father and he saved her. That meeting him was the key to overcome her depression and now she's finally happy thanks to him. I know about that because Anna often tried to bond with me by telling me how much she suffered in her life and how my father saved her. She has always justified herself that she was depressed and was in a hard place in her life before my father saved her. It always makes me feel uncomfortable and I don't feel empathy for her no matter how sweet she is. Talking about how many times you try to kill yourself in front of my 8-year-old sister, it's not something normal. Anna has always tried to paint her relationship with my father as a fairy tale that began in a different way but that she doesn't regret anything because her world is perfect now. At that moment my aunt said something like, I tried to save myself by going to a psychologist, not by jumping on the dick of a married man. And then she began to say that depression made her want to jump off a bridge but not ruin a family. I just laughed. It was funny. My aunt may have her mind elsewhere all day, but it was crazy to see her make such a sly comment. But when my father was taking me home, Anna was crying and he scolded me for laughing at what my aunt said, saying that no one knows everything that Anna suffered. I know, she always talks about that. I didn't apologize, but now I think, was I really wrong to laugh? From my point of view, my aunt was right. Update 1, hello, some things happened over the weekend. My aunt came home, I live with my mother, and told my mom what happened. My mother hates my dad for obvious reasons, but still she's been really nice to him and tried to keep us out of all those problems they have. My mother is honestly a saint. My sister is an 8-year-old girl and she really hates Anna. Anna once tried to get along with my sister and told her about the time she wanted to commit suicide and how my dad saved her. After that, my sister came home asking my mother if she had ever thought about committing suicide. That's not a question an 8-year-old girl should ask, and my sister even asked me questions about suicide after that. I don't really know what else exactly Anna said to her, but it definitely affected her as a little girl. It's not even something you should talk about with a girl of that age. My mother was furious, and since that day she forbids my father to have my younger sister near Anna, as she considers her a dangerous and unstable person around children. Since that day things have been really tense between my father and my mother. My little sister doesn't want to visit our father, so she is fine with this. My aunt told my mother that Anna talked about it again, but this time in front of me. Apparently my father and Anna were totally forbidden to talk about these things in front of me too. I'm not a little kid, but apparently that was the arrangement my mother made with my father when she set boundaries for them. My aunt told her what happened that day, and I confessed to my mother that Anna and my father talk a lot about those suicide attempts in front of me, which is something I should have talked about before, but at that moment I didn't want problems and decided to just ignore them. I told my mom that for that reason I am not going to my father's house anymore, and my mother got very upset with him. The next day she went to talk to my father. I don't know what they talked about. She just came back saying that Anna can't get close to us anymore. She told me that she can't forbid me from being near my father, and that's my decision, but Anna is extremely forbidden to set foot in the same place where I and my sister are. My paternal grandparents agreed, and my aunts too. They knew about the situation with my younger sister. I haven't spoken to my father, but my cousin told me that my father argued with my grandfather. He often says that Anna is a good person and we don't understand the pain she suffered, so I guess he's upset with all of us now for our great lack of empathy, as he always says. I don't know, at least now I won't see them for a while. It was a boring update, but that's what happened. Ha ha. Update 2. Hi. I wasn't planning to make another update, but we've had a lot of problems with Anna, too many, and I think now even my father has realized that she's crazy. I have stopped going to see my father, and my father's parents stopped allowing him to go with Anna to their house since I am there a lot, and my mother does not allow her to come near me or my sister. Anna began to have the strange behavior of starting to send me texts. First she apologized to me but insisted that my father misses me and my sister. I replied to her that my mother does not allow us to talk to her, and she said that she is my father's partner, so we have to get used to her being around. She started to talk badly about my mother, saying that I'm too young to realize it, but my mother is manipulating us and that's wrong because she's not allowing us to be a family. I'm young but I'm not dumb. I didn't answer her again and showed the messages to my mother, who spoke to my father again. My father knew nothing about this and apparently had an argument with Anna about this, since now my mother is planning to take away his last name from our name to end this shit show and protect us. I don't understand too much about this, but in my country you can go to court and take out your father's surname, making him have no right over you anymore. I honestly believe that neither my sister nor I would have any problem with this, but I think my mother just said that to scare him. This is something I heard from my aunt, and I don't know how much of this is real, but my father has been staying at my grandparents' house. One of those nights Anna went to knock on the door looking for him just to argue. She and my father began to argue. Anna yelled at my dad that he couldn't leave her like that, but nothing else happened because my grandfather kicked her out. My aunt also told me that my father told her that Anna sends him messages like, "If you leave me I will kill myself. You can't leave me." So my father is afraid of leaving her and afraid of her. Less than 2 days ago I found out that my father had to leave work quickly because she sent him goodbye messages. Nothing happened to her, she just cut her arms as always. My aunt said that this is something that Anna has always done. Even when the affair started she sent him messages saying that she was about to commit suicide so that my father would go to her. This is something that Anna also told me, but in a more romantic way. It always scared me. I have no contact with my father and I avoid him when he's at Grandpa's house, but as far as my aunt has told me, he doesn't know what to do since he misses us but is afraid to leave her and that she will kill herself. I feel bad for thinking this, but I'm really relieved to be hearing all this from afar. I'm so thankful that my mom forbade us to see her before all this happens, and honestly this is his karma, so I'm not going to get into this. My entitled sister abandoned her 3 children, so I raised them. Years later, they offer me money as a thank you, but she demands it. Hello, I am 48F, and my younger sister, Diana, is 46F. Diana and I never got along well as youngsters. She was always snobbish and unpleasant to me, so we split up as soon as we graduated high school. I elected to continue my education, whilst she preferred to live with her boyfriend at the moment. It was lucky that her lover was wealthy, as our parents could never have afforded the rent for her to live alone. However, she made it abundantly obvious to our parents that she was unconcerned about their opinions on her life and would do whatever she wanted. So my parents never tried to stop her and instead let her go free. Diana had twin girls at 20 and a boy at 21 while living with her lover. My parents were pleased for her, but also anxious because she now had many responsibilities and no work. She was wholly dependent on her boyfriend's money to support her lifestyle. Diana never married her partner, which I believe was a mistake because she would have been entitled to alimony if they split up. They had to part ways after Diana discovered that he had been cheating on her. Thankfully, he provided the child support she was entitled to, but he chose not to be a father and signed away his parental rights. The girls were 3 years old at the time, but my nephew was only 2. After that, my sister was fully on her own and required all of the assistance she could get to maintain herself. Despite our sour relationship, I chose to assist her, primarily owing to pressure from our parents. At the time, I made a respectable living, but it wasn't enough to sustain all 4 of them. However, my parents and I gave a tiny bit of money each month, and they were able to make ends meet. She struggled for the first several months because she lacked a degree and work experience. She had to start at the bottom and work her way up, which forced her to dedicate a significant amount of time to her employment in order to grow rapidly. But this was difficult because she also had to consider her children, and she couldn't simply leave them at home. Hiring a babysitter was a possibility, but it was prohibitively expensive, so she was forced to rely on me or her friends. Our parents were also working and contributing financially to aid her, so they were unable to stay at home with the children. I was in the same predicament. She didn't have any friends who would take on the duty of minding her children while she worked because they all had their own lives and occupations. As a result, she was limited to minimum wage positions that allowed her to work flexible hours and return home quickly. This allowed her to avoid paying the babysitter to stay with her children for an extended period of time, which would have been prohibitively expensive. This condition persisted for a few years, and I believe Diana began to despise her own children because she saw them as hurdles to her success. She said that they were the only things preventing her from moving forward. I would pay her a visit on occasion, not for her sake, but for the sake of the children, to make sure they were doing well. I didn't have a nice connection with her, but I wasn't ruthless enough to let innocent children suffer because of their mother's poor decisions. So my parents and I would check on the kids on a regular basis. They were always complaining about Diana's mistreatment of them. She would chastise them for minor infractions and strike out at them simply for being children and trying to have fun. It was a dreadful existence for all of them, and I hoped I could help them by removing them from that place and keeping them with me, but I couldn't because she was the rightful parent and I had no legal authority over them. Furthermore, she received child support from her ex and was doing her best to make ends meet. I felt awful for her, but even worse for the kids. Diana started seeing other men, which made things considerably worse. Every time a relationship failed, she blamed her children. She was convinced that once her partners discovered she was a mother of 3, they would abandon their relationship with her. I believe it was because she never mentioned her children during the early stages of dating, only bringing it up after a month or 2, which appeared dishonest. I tried several times to explain this to her, but she was convinced that she was being rejected because she had children. She kept teasing them about it, reminding them of how their father had abandoned her and threatening to leave them as well if they didn't behave. The children were scared of her, and their childhood was defined by their mother's narcissism. This continued for years. Several times, I considered taking the kids and fleeing with them, but I couldn't. I could not petition for custody or denounce her because, while her actions were wrong, they did not justify taking the children away from her. So the scenario remained, and the kids were simply grateful to have me in their life. My parents were too elderly to be their pals, but I was always there for them when they needed it. They could never tell their mother about their issues, but they could always go to their aunt, which they did. Whenever they had problems with school, academics, or even Diana, they would come to me, and I appreciated their trust. It's no surprise that when they turned 18, they decided to leave their mother's house and move in with me instead. Now that they were no longer children, They could select where and with whom to live, and they chose me. Diana was clearly dissatisfied and had a lot to say. She stated she had squandered 18 years of her life raising these children, only for them to abandon her in the end. She was really unpleasant about it, telling me that if I had wanted to raise her children so badly, I should have stepped in sooner rather than taking over after the work was basically done. I wanted to tell her that she hadn't actually raised them. They had basically raised themselves because she was usually at work or out on dates with guys who eventually dumped her after discovering she had 3 children. She had no idea what her priorities should be, and it was clear why things turned out as they did. The children selected the person who had genuinely been there for them over the person who had always tortured and reprimanded them since she couldn't find anyone and was miserable in her life. It was evident that she had no idea she was harming them because she was suffering herself. However, I did not want to rub it in her face because I knew it must have been unpleasant for her, which is why she was lashing out at me. So I kept my mouth shut and that was it. After that, we didn't really communicate. Her children opted to leave her and live with me. Diana also chose to cut ties with all of us and cease speaking to anyone, including our parents. This was weird because they had done nothing to deserve it. I believe the fact that they hadn't chosen her side against me when my nieces and nephew opted to live with me irritated her, so she cut them off as well. It's been 7 years, and they're all doing well now. I don't know what Diana has been up to, but I know her children are doing well. My nephew attended medical school and is now a pediatrician. One of my nieces has a degree in literature and is now a teacher, and her twin sister has a hair shop. I assisted all of them in obtaining business loans and financed them to the best of my ability. I'm very proud of them because they've gone a long way from their previous home. They are now living apart. They only stayed with me for 4 years, and even then, it wasn't really like they were living with me because they were generally away at college and only came back on occasion. I believe they didn't want to return to Diana's home, where they didn't feel wanted. It's been 2 years since they all moved out, and I'm very thrilled for them. I never expected anything in return for what I did because I truly believed it was the right thing to do. They were just kids, and no matter how bad things were between me and my sister, I could never be callous to them. I've always had a soft spot for them, especially since I've never had kids or married. It wasn't my cup of tea, but for them, I wanted to be there as a parental figure because their father wasn't around, and, well, we all know who Diana was. They needed someone, and my parents were too old for the position, so I stepped forward. That is all I did. I never anticipated anything in return, but I am grateful that they are the type of children who think I deserve a gift of appreciation for what I done. Even though I don't believe it was something that required compensation, I appreciated their gesture. About a week ago, I celebrated my 48th birthday with my friends and family, including my nieces and nephew. I had a great time, and my nephew was kind enough to organize everything for me. Despite my desire to pay for everything, he insisted on covering the costs because he is now earning enough money to do things for me and display his appreciation. After the party, the 3 of them sat me down to talk. They told me that now that they were all financially established, they wanted to express their gratitude by collectively writing me a check. I tried to explain that it was unnecessary because I was still working and could support myself, but they insisted. They claimed it wasn't about repaying a debt. They could never repay me for what I had done for them since it wasn't about money. It was about the encouragement and faith I had provided them, which they could never fully repay. This was their humble attempt to show their appreciation. I was deeply moved by their genuine act and wanted to share it on social media. I just wanted to thank them for everything they were doing for me. My sister and I hadn't spoken in years, so I didn't think she would care. I was blocked on every platform, and I assumed she wouldn't see it, so I felt it was fine. Diana had never followed up with us or inquired about her children's well-being after they had left home. Granted, it was they who broke up with her first and moved in with me, but that was her fault. The least she could have done was show interest in their lives and try to be a mother figure to them in order to make one for her faults. But, to be honest, she didn't seem to care about the loss of communication, so I figured she was all right. Anyway, following that post, I received a reply from her a few days ago. I wasn't expecting it because, as I indicated, we hadn't spoken in 6 years. However, I should have predicted that as soon as she realized her children were financially secure, she would start sniffing around like a bloodhound, trying to figure out how much money she could obtain from them. In her reply, she stated that she had seen my post and wanted to talk about her children. She recognized that she had made mistakes in the past and had not been a good mother to kids, but she felt compelled to give herself another shot. She claimed she had missed them a lot over the previous 6 years. I'm not sure how much truth there is in that statement because if she truly missed them, she could have contacted me at least once. She asked me to speak with her children and help bridge the gap between them, as they respond well to me. The timing was strange, so I ignored her message. However, when I failed to react, she called me in the evening, and I snapped. She insisted that I assist her in reconnecting with her children, but I refused. I was quite aware that she was merely pursuing their money, not because she truly cared about their well-being. If she truly regretted what she had done, she would have contacted them directly rather than talking to me. She couldn't let go of her pride and ego for a single second. She still expected her children to contact her, despite the fact that she was the one who had made a mistake. It was amazing how entitled she was. She tried to dispute with me, arguing that she wasn't pursuing their money and that it was offensive for me to suggest so. I assured her that I was not implying anything. It was so obvious. I felt appalled and repulsed by what she was doing. She then accused me of stealing everything from her, claiming that I had already stolen her children and was now stealing her riches. I informed her that I didn't need the money and was originally hesitant to accept the check, but now I was going to take it all because she didn't deserve it. Now she's crying on social media, telling everyone what I said and attempting to make me seem bad. Some of my relatives say I went too far with what I said, that I'm greedy, and that I owe her an apology, which is absurd. That is why I am here to inquire if I'm in the wrong for telling my sister that she does not deserve the money that her children have decided to give me. Update. As some responses advised, I recounted the situation with my nephews and nieces. They informed me they had heard about it from a few of relatives and had considered speaking with me but had not had the time. However, after I called them over and discussed it with them, they informed me that they believed I did the correct thing. My nephew was open about his views, stating that he had never considered of his mother as a maternal figure throughout his life. He always blamed me because she had never been there for him, and my niece agreed. He'd always been the most outspoken of the group, so it was predictable that this was all coming from him. My nieces were too emotional to speak, but he was quite angry and upset. He explained that Diana only spoke to me since she had never done the basic minimum for them. This was despite the fact that she was receiving child support from their father, and even then, she would humiliate them and make them feel horrible for merely existing, which was not their fault. They believe I did the right thing and have informed me that they will not contact their mother, regardless of what happens. They also believe that I should stand up for myself and explain my side of the story online now that Diana has decided to speak negatively about me on social media. They believe that this is the most effective approach to convey the message, therefore that's what I'll do. I'm delighted they opted to take my side in this because my parents are staying out of it and have stated that they don't want to get involved. Diana never spoke to them after her children cut her off, which I find unusual. My parents' polite approach to this problem strikes me as unusual, given that they have not communicated with Diana in the last 6 years. I was disappointed, but at least my nieces and nephew support me. Now many people have asked me why I did not petition for custody and have the children taken away from Diana if I knew she was a bad mother and was mistreating them. I mentioned in my piece that, while her actions were wrong, they did not constitute torture, abuse or neglect. She was constantly harsh to them and wasn't emotionally present for her children. So while I could have filed for custody, it was quite improbable that I would have gotten the children into my care. Courts typically encourage families to keep together, and in this case, they had already lost their father. Their father had abandoned them, leaving them with only their mother as a biological parent. Naturally, the court would want the family to stay together. I knew that if I filed a petition against her or took legal action against Diana, she would ensure that I never saw them again. She would make certain that she took the kids far away from me. It was already improbable that I would have been able to take kids away from her and obtain full custody, so this would have put them in a dangerous situation. This is why I decided to play it safe by staying in touch with them and being available for them at all times. I'm not sure if it was the correct thing to do in the long term, but at the time, it seemed like the only option. Maybe there were other ways to deal with it, but it was all I could think of, so I did what I believed was right. It was difficult for me, and for years I debated whether I should file for custody or have kids taken away from her and rehomed, but there's no telling what might have occurred, and I figured it was better for kids to stay with their mother and maintain touch with me and my parents than risk anything in this circumstance. I hope this answers the questions most people had for me. Maybe I came across as the evil guy for what I did, but I don't care. I know the kids are doing well in their life, and I did everything I could to keep them happy and safe. I was always there for them, therefore I don't feel guilty about anything. Update 2. It's been a week since Diana's message and I've received a lot of phone calls today from family and people who have spoken with her. They were pointing out my mistakes and scolding me. It was getting really tiresome and I was swamped with work, which is why I hadn't been able to post sooner. But today, I decided I'd had enough. After a brief talk with my nephew and nieces, I decided to finally make a post that shared my side of the story as well as, in some ways, theirs. I don't think anyone in the family realized how much those kids had been through as children. How many taunts they had to endure every day simply because Diana opted to become pregnant early and drop everything for her boyfriend at the time. Even after that, she continued to blame others for her own actions and attempted to appear as if she was doing everything in her ability to do the best for her children. But, in actuality, she was never present for them. Since she was telling everyone that I had stolen her children from her and was now stealing a fortune from her, now that her children were doing well financially, I felt people deserved to know the truth, not just her twisted version of events in which she was the victim rather than the person who tormented everyone. They had already judged me for a variety of reasons since they only knew her side of the story and sympathized with her. But in reality, I deserved to share my side of the story, as did her children. So I typed everything up a few hours ago and published the post. So far, she hasn't said anything to me, and the only texts I've gotten are from relatives who were judging me earlier. They have now abruptly changed their tune and are attempting to apologize for judging me too soon. But frankly, it means nothing to me. I simply wanted them to know the truth. I don't care what they think of me, but it was vital for me to speak the truth and share how Diana handled her children, which is why they are no longer in contact with her. Anyway, now that everything is finished, I am ready to move on from this. Honestly, I don't want anything to do with Diana anymore, and I was perfectly content for the past 6 years when she didn't contact me. I believe the same may be stated for her children as well. I don't understand why she felt the need to create so much drama. If she wanted money, she might have asked for it rather than pretending to want another chance at motherhood. Update 3. It's been a day since I wrote that post. Diana may have woken up today and decided to get back at me. Instead of contacting me directly, she became increasingly dramatic and began commenting on that post, attempting to make it appear as if I was lying. But it was not going to work. Obviously, as soon as she attempted to react, her children began commenting and responding to her, reminding her of particular episodes from their childhood in which she had been cruel to them. That lasted about an hour, and I didn't feel awful about it. Nobody else did, because my nephew, nieces and I were all thoroughly enjoying the process. They were utterly humiliating her, and there was no way she could get out of it since every single lie she tried to say to make me look bad was discovered. I'm glad I chose to do this on the weekend. Otherwise, we might not have been able to respond as swiftly. Anyway, that lasted about an hour, and then she began deleting her comments so that no one could catch her in her falsehoods. However, it was too late because many others had already noticed what was going on in the comment section, and I believe she began to be called out for her actions by others. She started erasing her comments and backtracking on everything she said, and then she blocked me. She also blocked her children. I'm guessing it was her way of surrendering, and I'm pleased she did because she would have lost in a fight with us. We clearly have the upper hand here, morally or otherwise. I believe deleting the comments would be the end of our connection, but she chose to contact me personally as well. She messaged me, saying she hoped I was happy now that I had presented her as the monster and everyone hated her. It was very ironic coming from her, because that was exactly what she was attempting to do to me first. She initiated it, and now when I wanted to return it to her, she is unable to accept it. I don't understand why individuals attempt to dish it out when they know they can't take it in return. Just don't cause any drama if you don't want to be held accountable for the results. Anyway, I disregarded that message, and that's what we're all going to do for the rest of our lives because she's no longer worth our attention. She has proven it. My wife cheated while I grieved my brother's death, blamed me. Then years later, at a wedding, she tried to reconcile, but my new life shocked her. I, 32M, had been with my wife, Teresa, 30F, for 8 years and married for 4. We met at a party hosted by a mutual friend during our sophomore year in college. I was immediately taken to her confident personality and sharp wit. Teresa was studying business, while I was studying engineering. We bonded over our mutual enjoyment of outdoor activities and sampling new foods. Our first date was a disaster. I lost my money and spilled wine on her dress, but Teresa shrugged it off, and we wound up spending hours roaming around campus and talking. I realized she was exceptional right away. Teresa's drive and ambition struck me as our relationship progressed. She hailed from a working-class family and was driven to pursue a good career. I loved how she managed her academics, a part-time job, and internships. Teresa pushed me out of my comfort zone by encouraging me to apply for competitive internships and leadership positions in student organizations. After graduation, we both found nice employment in the city, Teresa with a lighting company, and I at an engineering firm. We moved in together after a year and got engaged soon after. Our wedding was a modest, intimate gathering of close friends and family. Teresa was lovely in her plain white outfit, and I recall feeling like the luckiest man alive. Our first couple years of marriage were great. We both advanced in our careers, which enabled us to travel and enjoy life in the city. We had a wonderful group of friends and frequently hosted dinner parties or game nights at our home. Teresa and I spoke effectively and rarely fought. When we disagreed, we always tried to listen to each other and find a solution. Teresa's independence was one of my favorite aspects of her personality. We both cherished our personal time and hobbies. Teresa enjoyed yoga and painting, while I enjoyed basketball and tinkering with vintage cars. We supported each other's interests and struck a healthy balance between couple and individual activities. Everything changed when Mason, my older brother, was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Mason and I had always been quite close. He was not only my brother, he was also my best friend, confidant, and role model. Mason was always there for me growing up. He taught me how to ride a bike, assisted me with my homework, and offered advice on everything from school to relationships. When our parents divorced during my adolescence, Mason became my rock. He was attending college at the time, but he called me every day to check in. He even came home on weekends to see whether I was all right. Mason was the one who encouraged me to apply to college and assisted me with moving into my dorm. At my wedding, his best man speech moved everyone to tears. Happy tears, naturally. Mason's diagnosis hit me like a truck. He had always been the picture of health. He ran marathons, ate properly, and never smoked. It appeared so unjust. I recall sitting in the doctor's office with him and his wife Sarah, feeling as if the world was collapsing on us. Since then, I've spent as much time as possible with Mason. I drove him to his chemotherapy appointments, stayed with him in the hospital, and attempted to lift his spirits. Teresa was initially helpful, accompanying me on visits to Mason and assisting Sarah with food and chores. But as the weeks grew into months, Teresa began to protest. She claimed I was spending too much time with Mason and neglected our relationship. I tried to explain how vital it was for me to be there for my brother, but Teresa appeared to resent the time I was away from her. We began bickering more frequently, generally over my schedule or her feeling neglected. I tried to balance time with Mason and Teresa, but it was really difficult. Mason's condition was fast deteriorating, and I wanted to be as present for him as possible. At the same time, I felt awful about not giving Teresa the attention she craved. It was a no-win scenario. Despite rigorous therapy, Mason died 8 months after being diagnosed. I was absolutely devastated. Mason had been such a constant in my life that I couldn't imagine the world without him. The loss devastated me, and I sank into a profound despair. I took a leave of absence from work and spent the majority of my time at home. Some days, I could hardly get out of bed. Everything reminded me of Mason, TV shows we used to watch together, private jokes we shared, and even particular foods he enjoyed. The grief was intense. Teresa attempted to be helpful at first, but her patience ran out quickly. She kept trying to persuade me to get over it and resume our normal social life. She planned events and invited friends over, but I couldn't bring myself to socialize. Teresa seemed to take it personally and accused me of pushing her away. This carried on for around 3 months. I knew Teresa was having a difficult time, but I was doing my best to cope with this enormous loss. I was attending a bereavement counselor and attempting to process my emotions, but healing takes time. Teresa grew increasingly distant and unpleasant. Then one day, I received a call from Liam, Mason's best buddy since boyhood. Liam had been like another brother to me growing up, and he'd been a huge help after Mason's death. However, this call was different. Liam's voice was uncertain when he informed me he saw Teresa at a motel with another man. I did not want to believe it at first. I absolutely believed Teresa and couldn't picture her cheating, but Liam emailed me a photo he had taken, and there was no disputing it. Teresa was in a passionate embrace with a man I didn't recognize, and they were going to enter a hotel room. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. How could Teresa do this to me, especially because I was grieving for my brother? I sat in stunned silence for hours, staring at the snapshot and attempting to make sense of it. When Teresa arrived home that evening, I confronted her. I showed her the photograph and asked for an explanation. She initially denied it, claiming that it was not what it appeared to be. But when I questioned her, she broke down in tears and admitted to having an affair with a coworker for the past 2 months. Teresa's excuses made me feel awful. She claimed she felt lonely and ignored when I was grieving. She complained that I was not providing her needs and that she deserved happiness. She even had the arrogance to claim that I had pushed her to cheat by being emotionally unavailable. I was infuriated and heartbroken. I told Teresa to leave and that I wanted a divorce. She asked me to rethink and give her another opportunity. She screamed and pleaded, claiming it was a mistake and that she still loved me, but I knew I could never trust her again after this betrayal. The next day, Teresa called and texted me nonstop, attempting to explain herself. She claimed I was being harsh and exaggerating. She claimed that I had emotionally abandoned her by initially spending so much time with Mason and then withdrawing when grieving. She tried to blame me for encouraging her to cheat. I'm at a total loss. How could the lady I loved and trusted for 8 years do this to me, especially when I was grieving for my brother? And now she's attempting to blame me. Is it abnormal for me to refuse to even consider reconciliation? I feel like my entire universe has been broken. I keep revisiting our relationship in my head, wondering if there were any indicators I missed. Was Teresa always so selfish, and I just didn't notice, or did Mason's illness and death transform her? I'm doubting everything now. Part of me is upset with myself for not anticipating this. Perhaps if I had worked harder to balance my time between Mason and Teresa, this would not have occurred. But then I remember that a loving partner would have understood and supported me through such a difficult time. I haven't informed many people about Teresa's affair yet. I'm humiliated and don't want to deal with everyone's responses, but I know I'll need help moving forward, especially if I go through with the divorce. I am not sure what to do next. The prospect of going through a divorce while still grieving Mason is daunting, but I also can't imagine remaining with someone who could betray me like this. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all for your encouraging words and advice. To clarify a few points, Teresa knew Mason and I were close. She'd met him several times and appeared to like him. She was in the hospital with me when he died. During my grief, I never entirely shut Teresa out. We continued to live together, have meals together and so on. I was just not in the mood to go out or be personal. Before confronting Teresa, I performed some research and discovered that the affair had been going on for 4 months, not 2 as she stated. So it began shortly after Mason died. Teresa and I had no major relationship troubles prior to this. We had regular disputes, but nothing significant. She never expressed feeling ignored until Mason became ill. I appreciate everyone's feedback as I absorb this betrayal. I'll give an update whenever I have more information. Update 1. It's been around 2 months since my original post. A lot has transpired, therefore I'd like to provide an update. I filed for divorce soon after learning Teresa's adultery. It was not an easy decision, but I knew I could never trust her again after what she had done. Teresa's reaction to the divorce petition was a mix of outrage and desperate pleas. She kept calling and messaging me, alternately offering emotional apologies and accusing rants. Teresa showed up unannounced at my office. She made a scene in the lobby, crying and imploring me to give her another chance. My coworkers were uncomfortable, and I was mortified. I had to have security escort her out. After that episode, I banned her phone number for my own sanity. Teresa left our house and moved in with her folks. I've been staying in the house, but it feels empty and filled with sad memories. I'm thinking about selling it and finding a new location, but the prospect of going through another major life upheaval is daunting. I learned from common friends that Teresa was telling everyone that I had mentally abused her by abandoning her emotionally. She stated that I had refused to speak or work on our marriage, forcing her to seek consolation elsewhere. It was infuriating to hear these lies circulated about me. Some of our friends have chosen sides in the divorce. The majority have been supportive of me, although a handful believe Teresa's version of events. I've lost a handful of friendships as a result of this, which hurts even more than everything else. I'm trying to concentrate on the folks who have supported me. The divorce process has been messy. Teresa is claiming that she is entitled to half of everything, including Mason's inheritance. My lawyer assures me that she has no legal claim to it, yet she is delaying the process regardless. It feels like a slap in the face that she would attempt to benefit from my brother's death after betraying me. In the aftermath of everything, I've been dealing with a lot of despair and trust issues. Some days, it's difficult to get out of bed. I lost weight since I rarely eat. My performance at work has diminished, but happily, my supervisor has remained understanding. One positive development. I reunited with an old high school classmate, Olivia. We ran into each other at a coffee shop and started conversing. Olivia lost her mother to cancer a few years ago, so she understood exactly what I was going through with Mason. We've been hanging out as friends, and it's great to have someone who gets it. Olivia and I have a lot in common, something I had forgotten about. We were both on the debate team in high school and enjoy watching old movies. She has been introducing me to new music and podcasts, which has provided a wonderful distraction. Olivia doesn't force me to talk about Teresa or the divorce, but she is an excellent listener when I need to vent. Teresa flipped out when she discovered I was spending time with Olivia. She arrived at my house unexpectedly, yelling that I was a hypocrite for moving on so soon while vilifying her. She accused me of having an affair with Olivia, which is completely false. I had to threaten to call the cops before she left. The situation has been a nightmare, but I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm working on healing and discovering who I am outside of my connection with Teresa. I appreciate my family and friends' support during this trying time. I've been attempting to honor Mason's memory in constructive ways. I donated to the cancer facility where he was treated and have been volunteering whenever I can. Mason's wife, Sarah, and their children have been an excellent source of support. We have dinner together frequently, and it's helpful to talk about Mason with others who care about him as much as I do. There are still times when I miss Teresa and the life we shared, but then I remember her betrayal and how she has acted after I discovered the truth. It helps to emphasize that I'm making the correct decision by terminating the marriage. I'm not ready to consider dating again. The idea of putting myself out there and risking another heartbreak is daunting. For the time being, my primary emphasis is on reconstructing my life and recuperating from everything that has occurred. I will provide another update after the divorce is official. Thank you again to everyone who has expressed kindness and advice. It truly helps to know that I'm not alone in this. Update 2. It has been around 6 months since my last update. I was relieved when the divorce was finally finalized last week. Teresa fought me every step of the way, attempting to prolong the process and collect more money. In the end, we split our joint assets 50-50, and she did not receive any of my Mason inheritance. Teresa returned to my office the day after her divorce became final. She was crying and begging me to reconsider, claiming she had made a terrible mistake but still loved me. I politely but firmly informed her that it was finished and requested her to leave. She refused, raising a commotion, and security had to remove her out. It was humiliating, so I took the rest of the day off work. My employer summoned me to his office the next day. I was concerned that he would be disturbed by the disruption, but he was actually very understanding. He mentioned that he had a messy divorce years ago and offered me some time off if I needed it. I was appreciative for his help and understanding. On a good note, Olivia has been doing well. What began as a friendship has gradually grown into something more. We've been officially dating for approximately 2 months now. Olivia is compassionate, sympathetic, and patient with me while I work through my trust difficulties. She encourages me to talk about Mason and never makes me feel awful for continuing to grieve. Olivia and I have been taking it slowly, which I love. We enjoy cooking together, taking long walks, and binge-watching TV shows. She's been assisting me in rediscovering old hobbies that I had abandoned throughout my marriage, such as playing guitar and photography. I've also focused on myself. I joined a gym, began learning guitar, and have traveled extensively. It is fantastic to rediscover who I am as a person. I went on a solo excursion to the mountains, which I had always wanted to do but Teresa was not interested in. It was pleasant to be alone with my thoughts and environment. Teresa continues to disparage me to anyone who will listen. She has told common acquaintances that I'm cold and unfeeling, that I never truly loved her, and that Olivia and I must have had an affair prior to our divorce. It's frustrating, but I'm trying not to get involved in her drama. I have begun spending more time with Mason's family. His children are growing up so quickly, and it's bittersweet to watch them hit milestones that Mason isn't present for. We've developed a ritual of having Sunday dinners together, telling tales about Mason and keeping his memory alive. Mason would have celebrated his birthday last month. It was a difficult day, but Olivia recommended we do something to honor Dad. We ended up organizing a modest charity race in Mason's honor, with funds benefiting cancer research. It felt amazing to turn my grief into something positive. Overall, I'm a lot better off than I was a year ago. I still miss Mason deeply, but the pain is not as intense. I am cautiously optimistic about my future with Olivia, and I'm pleased of myself for holding firm and not allowing Teresa to mislead me into reconciling. There are still difficult days, of course. Sometimes I wake up angry at Teresa for abandoning our marriage. Other times, I miss the future we envisioned together. But I'm learning to sit with these emotions without allowing them to overwhelm me. Thank you again to everyone in our community for their support. It helped me get through some difficult times. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm feeling optimistic for the first time in a long time. Update 3. It's been almost a year since my previous update. Life has returned to normal, and I'd want to express my last opinions on the matter. Olivia and I are still together and going strong. We just moved in together and adopted a dog. She's been a tremendous help through everything. I still have moments of insecurity and doubt, but Olivia is always kind and supportive. Our relationship isn't perfect, we've had our share of arguments and challenges, But we always try to talk freely and work through problems together. It's wonderful to be around someone who values honesty and mutual respect. I met Teresa at a mutual friend's wedding a few months ago. It was awkward, but we managed to remain cordial. She apologized again for her behavior during our divorce and stated that she was in therapy, working on herself. I wished her well but made it obvious that I was not interested in rekindling any kind of relationship, including friendship. Seeing Teresa evoked a variety of feelings. Part of me was outraged again, remembering her betrayal and the suffering she caused, but I also felt a sense of closure. Talking to her made me realize how much I'd grown and healed in the last few years. The pain over Mason is coming in waves now. Some days are more difficult than others, particularly around his birthday and the anniversary of his death, but I've discovered healthy methods to cope and celebrate his memory. I volunteer at the hospital where he was treated and have grown close to his wife and children. Mason's oldest son at 14 has been struggling lately. He's been acting out at school and is dealing with rage issues. I've been spending more time with him, taking him to basketball games and simply being there to talk. It feels amazing to be there for him in the same way Mason has always been for me. Olivia and I have discussed our future together. We are not in a rush to marry, but we both see this as a long-term relationship. We've spoken about having kids eventually, something I never imagined I'd desire after what happened with Teresa. It's hard to think of opening my heart again, but Olivia makes me feel protected. Work is going great. I was promoted a few months ago, which has been both exhilarating and challenging. The new work requires more travel, which has been difficult for Olivia and me, but we're figuring out how to balance our time together with our respective activities. I'm attempting to reconnect with past hobbies and interests. I joined a local amateur baseball league, which I enjoyed in college but gave up when life became busy. It's been exciting to get back on the field and meet new people. Olivia attends my sports whenever she can, cheering me on from the stands. Looking back, I see how toxic my relationship with Teresa had been, even before the adultery. We had grown apart, but we were both afraid to accept it. While I will never excuse her affair, I have accepted what happened and am looking ahead. There are still instances when I think, what if? What if Mason didn't get sick? What if I had noticed Teresa moving away sooner? What if I'd done things differently? But I am learning to let go of such thoughts and concentrate on the present. I am not the same person I was when I wrote the first post 2 years ago. The anguish and betrayal transformed me, but not all of the changes were negative. I've learned a lot about myself, resilience, and what I truly want from a spouse and in life. To anyone going through a similar situation, it does get better. Take the time to heal, surround yourself with supporting friends, and don't be scared to start afresh. You deserve happiness and someone who actually appreciates you. This will be my final update on this storyline. Thank you again for your kindness and encouragement over the last few years. It made a huge impact during the worst periods. I am looking forward to the future, whatever it may hold. After hearing my girlfriend talk about infidelity, I left without saying anything. She is looking for me, but I blocked her everywhere. My girlfriend, who is 36 years old and with whom I have been in a relationship for 5 years, has cheated on me without my knowledge. I am a 38-year-old man who just recently discovered this information. I discovered it in the most unfortunate way imaginable. Let me begin by providing some background information about myself. I have never been married and I do not have any children. It's not that I don't want it either. I guess life just hasn't presented me with those opportunities yet. Okay, let's get to the story. The men and I were going to take a weekend trip to one of my friend's cabins on the lake, so I left work on Friday after work to go on the trip. There is nothing overly insane about it. Fishing, drinking games, and just plain old fun. The majority of the time, we take these excursions approximately once every 3 months in order to offer our significant others a break from us and to allow ourselves some time to ourselves. In a typical scenario, I remain for the entirety of the weekend and then depart from there in order to report to work on Monday morning. My laptop, on the other hand, was left in the office room during the weekend, and I failed to remember to retrieve it. I started making my way home at approximately 4 o'clock in the afternoon, with the expectation that I would arrive there by 6 o'clock. Since I was under the impression that Rachel, we'll refer to her as Rachel, wouldn't have eaten by that point, I placed a phone order at our go-to Italian restaurant, waited for it to be delivered, and then went back to the house. As soon as I went in, everything appeared to be in order. Rachel was laughing in the kitchen and I could hear her laughing, so I decided to simply walk in and surprise her on the spot. I was getting closer, and as I did, I began to overhear the conversation that she was having on the phone. In a moment, my world was completely turned upside down. I had the impression that she was speaking to her sister or possibly one of her friends, But the conversation was rather straightforward and proceeded as follows. It was an incredible evening last night. What a thoughtful and considerate lover he was. Take a break. I'm telling you, I've never had anything like it. Take a break. After meeting on Tinder, he took me out for dinner the other night. We were so close to making it to the sofa that we barely made it by the time we made it through the door. Take a break. Oh God, big, like twice as big as insert my name. Take a break. I'll definitely be taking him for a test drive again. Following the completion of that line, I simply threw the meal on the ground. It was Rachel who turned around after hearing it. I was already experiencing tears welling up in my eyes by that point in time. I simply pushed her off, went up to the office, got my laptop and then left. She hung up the phone and attempted to get in touch with me, but I was no longer available. I have not returned a single call from Rachel for the past 4 days, despite the fact that she has been texting and calling me in an extremely frantic manner. Because I am sleeping at a motel located a couple of towns away, it is quite unlikely that she will be able to locate me. Rachel has been frantically attempting to find me, and that has caused my friends and my mother to phone me. However, I have reassured everyone that I am well and that there is no reason for them to be concerned about me. The idiotic phone call that I received has completely destroyed my life. I was under the impression that this lovely young lady was the one with whom I would spend the rest of my life. I am an only child, but my mother is always reminding me that she would want to have grandchildren. Due to the fact that this year would be our 6th wedding anniversary, I had intended to make my proposal on July 4th of this year. I already have the ring, and my friend and his wife are already aware of the idea because they were the ones who organized and hosted the 4th of July cookouts. I would like to thank them for their assistance. In this regard, I would be grateful for any advice you might provide. It is the first time that I have ever dealt with infidelity in any relationship, and at this point I am completely and utterly emotionally destroyed. Could I get in touch with Rachel? Is it advisable for me to listen to her after that phone call? When I think of her, I can't help but feel queasy in my stomach. I want to express my gratitude in advance to anyone who contacts me with comments. Update 1. Good morning everyone. To begin, I would want to express my gratitude to everyone for their sincere comments. I have had a very stressful week, and although I did not feel like responding to anyone's posts, I want you all to know that I did read them, and your words helped me get through the week. I am looking forward to hearing from you all. This has been a terrible experience for me, and the fact that each and every one of you reached out to me through chat or left a comment has made my day a little bit brighter. With that being said, the most current update is presented below. In the evening of the previous Friday, after my friends had arrived at the hotel, I shared with them what I had listened to on the phone call. They were, to put it mildly, all 3 of them in a state of shock. They inquired as to whether or not I had observed any indications of this, and to tell you the truth, I had not. The answer I gave them was that I had no idea what I was going to do. I let my one friend know that the proposal was not going to go through, and he perfectly understood the situation given the existing circumstances. It was one of the things that I instructed my friends to do before they left their homes, and that was to turn off tracking in the event that their significant partners were checking on them and returning to Rachel. While I am aware that Rachel has a close relationship with one of the wives, I did not want to take any chances at this point in time. That evening, we spent the evening at the hotel bar, and I took a lot of shots, shot after shot, shot after shot. I was quite exhausted. It was no nice sight. From the beginning of the night to the end of the night, my friends' significant others were calling them and wondering where they were. It is to their credit that they did not back down and supported me by simply stating that we were safe and that there was no need to be concerned. After presuming where they were, one of them approached me with a request to speak with me, but I declined to engage in conversation with her. Rachel was concerned, and all she wanted was for me to return home. She insisted over and over again. Just now, I told my friend to take care of it, and I promised that I would fill them in at a later time. As well as a handful of girls who were traveling for work, I spent the most of the night hitting on the bartender, which is something I am not proud of my behavior toward. I thanked each of them for spending time with me the following day, and then they left to go back to their own homes. Because he gets to work after Rachel and I would have already left for the day, I asked one of my friends to have a look at the house that we were renting this week. He was on his way to work, and she and I would have already left for the day. The previous 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, were off for Rachel, but she returned to work on Wednesday. I hurried to the house as soon as he disclosed this information to me, and I immediately began packing as many of my belongings as I could. Dishes were piled up in the sink, clothes were strewn about the house, and the garbage can was stuffed with food that had been ordered and taken out. Getting all of my belongings out of the house took me approximately 3.5 hours. Just as a parting gesture, I cleaned up for Rachel before I left. After Rachel became aware that I had returned home and retrieved all of my possessions, she began to bombard me with phone calls and text messages throughout the afternoon and evening of that day. For the time being, I am residing at my mother's house until I am able to get a place of my own sometime in the fall. After speaking with the landlord, I learned that he will not be able to remove me from the lease unless Rachel's signature is provided. This means that I will be responsible for paying my share until October. Until then, my mother has indicated that I am welcome to stay with her. After that, I will make an effort to locate a new residence. As far as I'm aware, a 38-year-old man moving back home with his mother is an incredible experience that life has handed me. Thursday was the day that I finally got in touch with Rachel, and I informed her that we could get together at a neighborhood bar and grill downtown on Friday evening. I assured her that one of my close friends would be present to keep an eye on everything and make sure that everything was in order. She moaned for a few minutes, stating that she wanted me to come home and talk to her so that we could move on from this situation. However, I told her that if she wanted to see me, this was going to be the way that it was going to end up. In the end, she gave her consent. By the time my friend and I arrived at the location on Friday evening, Rachel had already arrived for almost 1 hour. To calm myself down, I had already consumed some food and had also taken a couple of shots of Ciroc. As we sat down, she expressed an interest in engaging in idle chatter, inquiring about me and blah blah blah. I removed that piece of junk. I indicated to her that I had a list of inquiries. Almost instantly, her eyes began to flood up. My question to her was, "How long has this been going on?" "This is the first and only time," she pledged to herself. I told her to stop talking like that. Since I stated that there was no possibility of us ever getting back together, I would appreciate it if you could simply give me the truth so that I can put this matter to rest and move on with my life. She remained steadfast in her account for a few minutes, but then, as the majority of you had anticipated, she admitted the truth. For the past 2 years, whenever I went on such vacations, she was under the impression that I was going to cheat on her. So she was also having a good time. I was fired up by this. I informed her that she was merely using this as a fucking excuse to sleep around with other people. After that, I inquired about the person she was speaking with on the phone, but she declined to provide me with an answer. Asked if they used condoms, she responded that they did so occasionally. Because I am clean, she does not need to worry about obtaining an STD test unless her most recent fling did not use one. I told her that she is fortunate that I took an STD test because I am still clean. In the end, before I departed, I informed her about my intentions for the proposal that would take place on July 4th. I showed her the ring and informed her that I was going to propose to her at the party hosting our mutual friend because that was the event where they had introduced us to one another. Approximately at this time, she suddenly began crying for no apparent reason. She pleaded for just one more opportunity. I informed her that I will love her at all times, but that our relationship is finished. Even though she has been messaging me throughout the day, I am going to block her from this platform very soon. At this very moment I am only sitting here, consuming some Buffalo Wild Wings and sipping beer while watching the fights. I have my doubts, but I'm hoping that Poirier comes out on top. It's a train wreck that is my life. In any case, I want to thank you all for listening. It is highly unlikely that I will ever have another conversation with that expletive, thus I am not sure if I will update again. Comments. C. Falcon, 663. I knew she'd say it was just once. They usually do this, dummies. Also, the statement, every time I went on those excursions for the past 2 years, she assumed I was going to cheat on her, so she was having fun too. Blame shifting is a common cheater technique. It is your fault, OP. I do not think so. I am sorry your landlord did not allow you out of your lease, but at least you have your mother. It isn't ideal, but it is only temporary. It was entirely her loss. Unfortunately, she was going to marry someone. A nice man had chosen and desired her, and she had thrown it all away for pleasure. It's time to focus on yourself and your healing. Take it easy on the drinks, be careful. You are going to be fine. Fly Gusk. OP, I'm pleased you're clean, but it's unfortunate that she was such a POS and used that as an excuse to believe you were going to cheat on her during those travels. It's also unfortunate that she didn't want to identify who she was speaking with, but I'm guessing it was someone in your tight circle of friends, probably one of your mate's spouses. She probably didn't want to be identified because it could get her in trouble. You may wish to warn your friends about these possibilities. Now, in terms of her reaction and actions at the meal, she exhibited no remorse and even attempted to trickle the truth to you. If she was truly sorry for what she had done, she would have broken down before the ring reveal. She only seemed to realize her mistake when you showed her the ring and discussed the proposal. It's time to leave the alcohol behind and begin your healing path. I hope everything goes well, and if you find out who was on the other end of that call, please keep us updated. Update 2. Dear fellow Redditors, how are you doing? I would want to express my gratitude to each of you for the kind remarks. They have meant a great deal to me. During the past day, a few events have transpired, and I thought it would be best to fill you in on them. In spite of the fact that it is not particularly exciting, here it is. I am free and clear, and there is no need for me to worry about any confrontation with Rachel because she is no longer invited to the cookout that will be held on the 4th of July occasion. While I was at the bar, one of the spouses was attempting to strike up a conversation with me, as you may recall from my previous story. In the 4th of July barbecue, she is the wife who is in charge of hosting. It would appear that Rachel had explained to her that she had only cheated on her partner once, and that it was a grave error on her part. This is the reason why she was attempting to convince me to share my thoughts with her. On Tuesday, I had a conversation with her, and during that conversation, I told her the complete truth. Almost immediately, she called Rachel, who informed me that my account of the events was accurate and was furious. As she began to rage at her, she informed her that it would be better if she did not show up to the event that was going to take place on the 4th of July because I was going to be there, and to tell you the truth, what she did to me was horrible and revolting. After that, she requested me to pardon her and stated that she was unaware of the situation. My explanation was that it was not her fault, and that she had no grounds for requesting forgiveness for what she had done. A person who was important to both of us was the one who deceived us. When it comes to the question of who was on the phone with her, I can only speculate that it was her sister. The two wives who are friends with her have maintained their steadfastness and insisted that they were unaware that Rachel was engaging in this behavior. It would appear that on Saturday evenings, when we were away, they would have a girls' night in my place until approximately 11 o'clock at night, during which time they would drink wine and speak about things that are typical of girls. A confirmation of this was provided by the individual who is not even close friends with her but participated in these activities. Another factor that leads me to believe that it was her sister is the fact that I have tried to get in touch with her 3 times already, but I have not received any response from her by way of a text message, a phone call, or anything else. My mother has contacted me and expressed her disappointment in the split. She also inquired as to whether there is anything they can do to convince me to change my decision, but I have informed her that this is not going to happen. As a result of the fact that I returned to work on Monday after taking the previous week off, I am now back to my regular schedule. Going forward, I will not consume any more alcohol. My liver will be grateful to me for that. This community has been of great assistance to me, and I would like to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for everything that you have done. Considering that it appears that this is the conclusion of the matter, I am unsure whether or not I will update this account again. It is important to note that Rachel has been blocked on all platforms, which means that she is currently unable to communicate with me. The person who was hosting the cookout informed me that she is not feeling well at the moment, and she did so before I explained what had actually occurred. The fact of the matter is, however, that I am not doing very well either, but I am moving on and putting all of this behind me. Once again, many thanks to the community. You guys are incredible. My spiteful sister-in-law accused me of stealing her diamond ring, but when this was revealed, she wasn't ready for the shock. I, 29F, have been married to Shane, 31M, for 5 years. We have a solid connection and a comfortable lifestyle. Shane has a sister, Tori, 33, who has been married to Mike, 35, for 8 years. Tori and I never really got along. Tori appeared to dislike me ever since Shane introduced me to his family. At first, I assumed it was simply because she was protective of her brother, but as time passed, I understood there was more to it. I was raised in a middle-class family. My parents worked hard to support me and my siblings. We never had luxuries, but we always had what we needed. I went to college on scholarships and worked part-time jobs to cover my expenditures. Following college, I took a job at a technology company and worked my way up. Tori, on the other hand, hailed from an affluent household. She never had to worry about money and received everything she desired. She attended an expensive private college before marrying Mike, who was also from a wealthy background. Tori didn't work and spent her time shopping, visiting spas, and attending social gatherings. When Shane and I began dating, Tori made it apparent that she did not think I was suitable for her brother. She'd make snarky remarks about my clothing, employment, and background. Despite the fact that Shane was seeing me, she was constantly trying to match him up with her wealthy friends. Despite Tori's attitude, Shane and I married. Our wedding was simple yet gorgeous. We paid for it ourselves and held a small ceremony for close friends and relatives. Tori complained about everything at the wedding, including the food and decor. She even donned a white outfit, which I chose to overlook to avoid the controversy. Shane's career skyrocketed following our marriage. He was promoted numerous times and began earning a decent salary. We were able to buy a wonderful home and go on vacation. This seemed to aggravate Tori's jealousy. She was constantly comparing our life to hers, always attempting to outdo us. Last month, Shane's parents invited the entire family to spend the weekend at their lake house. I didn't want to go because of Tori, but Shane persuaded me that it would be beneficial for family bonding. The first day went fine. We all arrived on Friday evening and dined together. Tori rarely spoke to me, which was okay with me. On Saturday morning, we had a swim in the lake. After lunch, Tori recommended we all play board games. Tori continued to show off her beautiful diamond ring while we were playing. She made a great deal about how pricey it was and how her father had surprised her with it on their anniversary. I complimented the ring politely, but Tori simply rolled her eyes. Later that afternoon, I decided to have a nap. I was fatigued after driving and swimming. I walked to the guest room Shane and I stayed in and fell asleep. I awoke about an hour later to shouting. I walked downstairs and discovered Tori screaming and crying. She yelled that her diamond ring was missing. Everyone was attempting to calm her down and help her find it. Tori was turning the living room upside down, tossing cushions and peering beneath furniture. Tori then pointed at me and cried that I had taken her ring. She claimed I was envious of her ring and wanted it for myself. I was astonished and rejected it right away. Shane defended me, stating that I would never do such a thing. Tori stated that I was the only one who had been alone in the house while everyone else went outdoors. She insisted that I empty my pockets and show her my baggage. I felt ashamed, but I did everything she wanted to establish my innocence. The ring was not present, but Tori was dissatisfied. To my dismay, Mike chimed in and accused me of hiding the ring somewhere. He stated I must have done it out of envy and recommended we check our room. I could not believe what was happening. I looked to Shane's parents for help, but they were apprehensive. Shane's father suggested that we all search the house thoroughly. We looked everywhere for hours and couldn't find the ring. As time passed, I noticed uncertainty creeping into everyone's eyes. Even Shane's mother, who had always been friendly to me, gave me skeptical looks. By dinner time, the mood was terrible. Tori was still crying, and Mike was soothing her while staring at me. Shane's cousins were whispering amongst themselves, and I could sense their accusing eyes. The breaking point came when Shane's father pulled him aside. I overheard him instructing Shane to man up and make me return the ring or pay for it. He claimed the ring was worth hundreds of dollars and Tori was upset. Shane lost his temper. He yelled at his father, stating he couldn't believe his own family would accuse him without evidence. He exclaimed that I was innocent and Tori had probably misplaced the ring. This resulted in a heated argument, with everyone taking sides. I felt terrible. I couldn't believe what was occurring. My husband's family treated me like a criminal even though I had never stolen anything in my life. Shane grabbed my hand in the middle of our quarrel and told me we were leaving. He informed his family that he was upset with them for leaping to conclusions and mistreating me. We packed our stuff quickly and went, despite his parents' objections. Shane was seething as he drove home. He repeatedly apologized to me, claiming he couldn't believe his family would do this. I was astonished and didn't know what to say. I felt bad for fostering this schism in Shane's family, even though I knew I had done nothing wrong. When we arrived home, Shane's phone was swamped with messages from his relatives. Tori demanded we pay for the ring. Mike had sent me a lengthy text accusing me of wrecking their lives via jealousy. Shane's parents asked him to be reasonable and return to work things out. Shane blocked all of their numbers that night. He said he didn't want to speak with any of them until they apologized to me, but I could tell how much this was hurting him. He adored his family, and this split was tearing him apart. A week has gone by, but the situation has not improved. Tori has been posting on social media about how I took her valuable anniversary gift. Some of Shane's extended family members have contacted us, encouraging us to do the right thing and pay for the ring to maintain peace. I am at a loss. I know I didn't take the ring, but I can't prove it. Shane trusts me, but I can see the toll it is having on him. He has lost weight and is not sleeping properly. He's even thinking about changing careers so we can relocate to another place and escape all of this stress. Part of me wonders if we should just pay for the ring to put this all behind us, but it's a lot of money, and more importantly, it would be admitting to something I didn't do. I'm afraid if we give in now, Tori will keep this over my head forever. I never wanted to come between Shane and his family. Regardless of our differences, I hope Tori and I would eventually get along. Now it appears that will never happen. I do not know what to do. Should I maintain my innocence, even if it means Shane loses his family? Should we pay for the ring to maintain peace? How can I prove I didn't steal something when there is no evidence either way? This entire affair has been a nightmare. I've lost sleep, can't concentrate at work, and am constantly anxious. Shane swears he'll always support me, but I can tell this is causing him pain as well. So Reddit, should I admit to stealing a ring that I did not take or pay for? How would you handle my situation? How can I resolve this situation without jeopardizing my integrity? Update. It's been 3 months since my previous post, and a lot has happened. I never anticipated things to turn out the way they did, but I'm glad the truth is now out. 2 weeks after the incident at the lake house, Leah, Shane's cousin, called me. She stated that she had some information about Tori's missing ring and wanted to meet me in person. I was hesitant at first, but Leah argued that it was necessary. The following day, we met in a small cafe. Leah appeared anxious and kept looking around, as if she was frightened someone would overhear us. She informed me that she had heard something unexpected from Angela, Ethan's girlfriend. Ethan was Mike's best friend. Angela told Leah that Mike had removed Tori's ring. Mike and Ethan had apparently entered into a business deal with a loan shark. They borrowed a significant quantity of money, but instead of investing it, they used it all to gamble and party in Las Vegas. When it came time to repay the debt, they were broke. In desperation, Mike took Tori's ring and sold it to help pay off the debt. He then used the family gathering to stage the ring's disappearance and blamed me. I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I heard. Part of me was happy that I wasn't insane and hadn't taken the ring, but another part of me was angry and upset that Mike would do this to his own wife and then blame me for it. Leah stated that she did not know what to do with this information. She felt bad for keeping it a secret, but she was frightened of causing additional family problems. I thanked her for informing me and told her that I would handle it responsibly. When I arrived home, I told Shane exactly what Leah had said. At first, he was skeptical. He couldn't believe his brother-in-law would do anything like this, but as we discussed it, things began to make sense. We remembered Mike's uneasy demeanor throughout the ring incident and how quick he was to accuse me. Shane decided to do some digging. He began by contacting some of Mike's old college pals and discovered that Mike had a gambling history that he had kept hidden from his family. Mike's acquaintances reported that he had recently been in financial problems. Then Shane hired a private detective. It took some time, but the PI eventually tracked down the loan shark from whom Mike had borrowed money. The man acknowledged that Mike and Ethan had taken out a loan and had recently made a partial repayment with a diamond ring. Shane was infuriated. He wanted to face Mike right away, but I advised him to acquire additional proof first. We didn't want this to become another situation in which our word was against theirs. Shane labored tirelessly for weeks to develop a case. He obtained bank statements that showed big transactions from Mike and Tori's joint account around the time of their Las Vegas trip. He discovered credit card statements containing charges from casinos. He even obtained security camera footage from a pawn shop showing Mike selling the ring. Shane convened a family meeting after we had collected all of the evidence. He assured everyone that they were going to talk about the ring issue and try to move ahead as a family. Tori and Mike consented, possibly believing it was an opportunity for me to finally confess. I was quite nervous on the day of the meeting. Shane's parents hosted it in their home. When we arrived, everyone was already present. Tori gave me a chilly glance, while Mike avoided eye contact entirely. Shane began by thanking everyone for coming. He stated that the ring event had created a great deal of pain in the family, and it was time to clear the air. Then he dropped the bombshell. He knew exactly what had happened to the ring. The room became silent. Tori looked perplexed, as Mike turned pale. Shane then proceeded to put forth all of the evidence we had collected. He handed them the bank statements, credit card bills, and pawnshop film. He even had Ethan on speakerphone and reluctantly corroborated the entire tale. As Shane spoke, the expressions on everyone's faces changed: shock, astonishment, and finally rage. Tori fell into tears and asked Mike if it was true. Mike broke down and confessed everything. He said he never intended for things to get this far, and he was going to find a way to get the ring returned. Tori was devastated. She couldn't believe Mike stole her ring and then blamed an innocent person. Shane's parents were surprised and ashamed. They apologized profusely for questioning me. Mike left the house in humiliation after the encounter, while Tori remained behind, too unhappy to join him. Shane's father hugged me and apologized for telling Shane to make me pay for the ring. Shane's mother was in tears, begging for my forgiveness. In the days that followed, I got calls and texts from several family members. They all apologized for believing I was capable of stealing and for treating me poorly. Some others brought flowers or gift baskets as peace gestures. Tori called me a week after our meeting. She apologized for blaming me and for all of the hurtful things she had said and done over the years. She revealed that she was always envious of me and my friendship with Shane. She announced that she was seeking for divorce from Mike and asked if we could start afresh. I was cautious at first, but I could detect genuine guilt in her voice. I told her I forgive her, but it would take time to regain trust. She understood and expressed her willingness to put in the effort. Mike moved out of their home and into a modest apartment. When his boss discovered the gambling and loan sharking, he was fired. Last I heard, he was going to Gamblers Anonymous sessions and trying to change his life. Shane and I had lengthy discussions about all that had happened. He felt bad about not believing in me more passionately from the start. I informed him that I realized how terrible the situation had been and that I valued his assistance throughout. We also talked about how we would handle our relationship with his family going ahead. We decided that while we would attempt to preserve positive ties, we would be more cautious about becoming involved in family issues in the future. The entire event drew Shane and I closer together. We discovered how strong our friendship was and how we could count on each other even when others doubted us. It also made us understand the value of trust and honesty in a partnership. Tori stuck to her word about trying to better our friendship. She began inviting me for coffee or lunch, just the two of us. At first, our chats were awkward and stiff, but we eventually discovered common ground. She spoke openly about her vulnerabilities and the pressure she faced growing up in a rich family. I told anecdotes of my own challenges and how I started my career from nothing. Things gradually began to shift. Tori stopped making nasty remarks at family events or attempting to outdo me. Instead, she was nice and even defended me when some of my more distant relatives mentioned the ring incident. Shane's parents went out of their way to make me feel comfortable and included. They would frequently call to check on me and ask us over for dinner. Shane's father even sought my guidance on some business things, claiming he valued my opinion. The ring was never recovered. We found out the facts after the loan shark had already sold it. Tori was disappointed at losing her father's present, but she claimed the event taught her that worldly possessions were less essential than trust and family. Leah, the cousin who initially informed me of Mike's conduct, became a good friend. She expressed admiration for how I handled the problem and wished she had been bold enough to speak up sooner. We began having frequent girls' nights out with some of our other cousins. The incident also influenced how I perceived myself. I realized that I had always felt nervous around Shane's family because of my history, but standing up for myself and revealing the truth gave me greater confidence. I knew I had earned my place in the family through my own efforts, not because of wealth or prestige. Shane and I had a lengthy talk about boundaries and family dynamics. We agreed that, while we would retain contacts with his family, we would be more aggressive about our own needs and boundaries. We also decided to begin seeing a couples therapist to work through some of the remaining stress from the entire experience. In an unexpected turn of events, Shane's company offered him a promotion that required us to relocate to another state. After considerable contemplation, we decided to take it. We saw it as an opportunity for a new beginning away from the lingering unpleasantness of the ring affair. We received different reactions from our relatives when we announced our decision. Some were saddened to see us leave, while others recognized our need for space. Tori, in particular, appeared unhappy, but stated that she supported our decision. She pledged to continue working on our relationship long distance. As we packed up our house and prepared to leave, I thought about everything that had happened: the false charge, the family turmoil, and the discovery of the truth. It all appeared strange. I never knew that a misplaced ring could cause so much havoc while also leading to so much personal progress. I learned significant lessons about advocating for yourself, gathering facts before making accusations, and the power of forgiveness. I also learned that family dynamics are complex and that it is acceptable to establish limits, even with kin. Shane and I are enthusiastic for our new journey in a new city. We're excited to start a new life free of the shadows of previous family dramas. We intend to visit during the holidays and stay in touch, but we also want to build our own customs and social circle. Tori and I had a rather emotional last talk before the relocation. She thanked me for giving her a second chance and promised to be a better sister-in-law and friend. She even joked about visiting us in our new city to show that she could have fun without her nice clothes and pricey jewelry. Looking back, I could not have imagined how things would turn out when I published my first post. Life has a tendency of shocking us, and the truth can be stranger than fiction. While I wouldn't wish the experience on anyone, I am happy for the growth and adjustments it has brought to my life and relationships.